650 hours.
Good evening.
She's very nice. She did an interview.
The Monroe Township Board of Education will come to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Gorski, may we please have a roll call?
Certainly. Mrs. Arminio. Mr. Braverman.
Here.
Mr. Chiarella.
Here.
Mrs. DeMeo.
Here.
Mrs. Lang.
Here.
Mrs. Carino. Mr. Ryback.
Here.
Mr. Russo.
Here.
Mr. Rutsky.
Here.
And Mrs. Koloponowicz.
Here.
Madam Board President, you have a quorum present this evening.
Thank you. Well, before we move on to the rest of the agenda, I have to do that.
One quick thing before we do that. In accordance with the provisions of the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law, the Monroe Township Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted April 20th, 2017 at all schools, the Home News Tribune, Cranberry Press, and filed with the clerk of the municipality.
Thank you. So before we move to the rest of the agenda, you might notice some new attire on our board members. And this is because we want our community to know that we are behind them in our quest for fair funding from the state, and that we will not be giving up this fight until we get everything that we deserve in Monroe. So, Mr. Rutsky, would you like to introduce your colleague from Jamesburg?
So absolutely. So in the audience tonight, so for those of you who don't know, I'm the Jamesburg Board of Ed representative to the Monroe Board, and so in the audience tonight is our president from the Jamesburg Board of Ed, who came to meet everybody and see how a Monroe meeting went. Elliot, where'd you go? There he is, Elliot Schwartz.
Thank you for coming tonight. So at this time, we'll go to number 5 on the agenda, the approval of minutes for the Public Board of Education meeting of February 15, 2017.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Chiarella and Mr. Ryback, are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Okay, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions or recusals? Mr. Braverman and Mr. Russo, both abstaining? And the approval of the minutes for the closed session meeting of February 15, 2017.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Ryback, Mr. Chiarella, again, any additions or corrections to the minutes? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Mr. Braverman, Mr. Russo, are you abstaining?
I was there.
Oh, you were there for the closed session.
Oh, no, not the closed session. I thought you said the 15th of February.
The closed section of the 15th, were you there? Were you there for the meeting on the
Yes.
15th? So you didn't,
But I don't know if I had to recuse myself from that meeting. No part of it.
no. So you were at the 15th and you're recusing from the closed session. Okay, thank you. So we're gonna move around the agenda a little bit, and we're going to be presenting our students with some certificates and awards this evening. So I will turn this over to Dr. Kozak.
Would you like to come up to the front when we do the
Sure.
presentation?
It should have been March something.
Good evening, everyone. It gives me, well, first of all, I'm Dr. Michael Kozak, the superintendent, just so you know who I am. It gives me great pleasure to have this many people out at one of our board meetings, and for a very special reason. And that reason is that we chose tonight to continue our recognition that we began last year of outstanding student achievement. Now, you have to understand, with 6,600 students, we could probably have invited every single student in this district to be recognized, because all of our students perform well academically, of course behaviorally and socially, and they're all outstanding in their own right. However, we don't have room for everybody here, so we did limit it, and we did set some criteria. And that criteria is recognition at the county, state, or national level, or an achievement that the committee felt was appropriate to be recognized. So with that, we're going to have some individual students and some students who are part of a larger group. They're separated by if they're in a group, they're separated by the group. And just as a matter of protocol of how we're going to do this, we will be calling the students up individually. We have a certificate for each of the students. If a student's in a larger group, we will ask the students to stand over to the side until all of those students from that group are brought up. And at that point, we're going to take a quick 5 seconds to take a picture. So we'll let you know when you come up. If you're part of a group, we'll just ask you to stand over to the side. If it's an individual student that's being recognized for his or her individual achievement, then when we call the student up, we'll hand them the certificate and we'll ask them to join us in a picture. Okay, and at the end, we will have all the students. I will ask all the students to come up, and we're going to try to fit all 6,000, no, I'm only kidding, all 80 students into a picture. And we may have to get chairs. Some of these kids get pretty tall, but we'll bring them all up at the very end. So if you could, after you get up, if you're one of the first students called up, if I could respectfully ask that you wait until the end so that we can get a group picture, that would be great. Okay, our first group of students are elementary students, and with that, I know Ms. McNulty is here, our principal of Mill Lake School, and I think she's working her way through the crowd. She likes to make an entrance. Please give Ms. McNulty a round of applause. And Ms. McNulty, would you like to tell the audience just briefly why these students are being recognized?
Yes, absolutely. First and foremost, congratulations to all of our students. We're a very lucky district to have such a robust group of students who have so many different qualities. So congratulations to every student that's here tonight. As far as Mill Lake goes, we had third grade tag students who participated in the New Jersey Law Association mock trial competition. They scored first place, and I just want you to know what it entailed for them to do this. They presented a case under the guidance of Don Graziano, and they had to give a case to real jurors, a real judge, and they scored first place. Boys and girls, I couldn't be more happy to be your principal. So with that being said, we're going to call our students up. First, we have Tyler Bacon. Christina Latash. Delilah Updale. Sayona Patel. And Alicia Chowdhury. A big round of applause for our third grade tag students at Mill Lake School.
I also, just before we take the picture, I would like to also say that joining me up here, of course, is our board president, Ms. Kathy Kalapanovich, and our assistant superintendent of schools, Dr. Dory Albeck. Okay, next we have students from our middle school. And the students that we're going to be calling up are STEM. And do we have any kids that want to tell us what STEM stands for? Just yell out the four things that STEM stands for. Aren't they great? Yeah, so yes. All right, and the students that we're calling up were in a TAG, or Talented and Gifted program, or math competition. And we have students that scored first place, second place, and third place in this. And then we also, well, we'll just start with that, and then we have a math counts competition. So we'll start with the 4 students here. And I'm going to apologize in advance. I'm doing my very best to pronounce everyone's name correctly. So if I do not pronounce it entirely correct, please, I offer you my apologies to start with. So the first student, and I'm going to call the student's name out, even if they may not be here. We have Swagnik Roy Chaudhary. Okay, let's. We have Drew Reddy, who took second place. Please come up to the front. We have also second place, Parth Adia. I don't believe he's here, but Patrick Ryan. And David Enbell. Congratulations. I know you're going to have to. Why don't you want to stay in the end? And we have more. We got more this past week. I'm going to bring that up back. Okay. Next, we have, also from the middle school, the Tri-County Math Counts competition and the team that competed in that competition. So we will start with Avi Thanawala. Next, we have Regit Hedgie. Kevin Liu. And I'm going to announce 3 students who I don't believe are here tonight. They didn't respond, but I do want to include them in the presentation. So we also had Parth Adia. We had, oh, okay. It's not highlighted. My apologies. That's right. Come on back up.
Same kid, it's just up there.
We have Atia Chanalaya. And Dhruv Reddy. Next, we have students that are part of the Technology Student Association competition. And we have students, I'm going to say what they won the awards for, and then we'll call the students up because they have different awards. The first is for 3rd place STEM animation, the first 2 students. Our next 2 students were 2nd place for forensic technology. And we have 3 students that took 2nd place for leadership strategies. So our first student, Sagar Varma. Abhay Sheshardi. Angeline Thomas. Rebecca Phillip. Daniel Verghese. Shrith Galugalam. And Akhil Manam. Okay, Mr. Morodo, would you like to, there you are. The next group we have are students that were named to the All Eastern Music Education Conference.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Zach Moralda. I'm the district supervisor for the Department of Applied Arts and Careers Technology, which encompasses everything from business to fine performing, practical arts, engineering, and everything in between. And thanks to the wonderful support of our administration and our Board of Education, we're able to offer our students tremendous opportunities throughout the state and the nation in a competitive format. And tonight we're going to be recognized many of those students that have achieved the highest level at the state level, including the TSA students that were just recognized. And before I speak more specifically to the All-Eastern Music Conference, I just want to thank Ms. Sarah Cummings and Ms. Donna Montgomery, who are the co-advisors of the TSA organization at the Monroe Township Middle School. I would also just like to recognize Ms. Terry Weiss, Ms. Debbie Stepensky, Ms. Deanna Dale, who are our business teachers that have realized a lot of the successes that you'll be hearing about tonight. And of course, I'd like to recognize our music teachers, some of which are here tonight. Mr. Yale Snyder, who's in the back, who directed our percussion ensemble. Mr. Martin Griffin, who's our high school band director, and Ms. Ariel Klein, who is our high school choral director. And if I have left anyone out, which I don't think that I did, I apologize. So specifically regarding the All-Eastern Conference, which took place a couple weeks ago in Atlantic City, it's a regional conference that really features the elite and the best of the best in performing arts throughout the northeastern portion of the United States. And we were very fortunate and very proud to feature many of our musicians from the high school and a lot of musicians from the middle school at this conference, in which we received numerous compliments, specifically with the organization, professionalism, and how proficient these young students were on their instruments. So many of them are here tonight, and we are very excited to present them to you. And if you wanted to see the performance that took place at the All-Eastern Conference in Atlantic City a few weeks ago, we will be having a repeat performance at our May 16th percussion ensemble and jazz concert at the Monroe Township Middle School, and we hope and expect to see you all there. So thank you very much.
Hey, come up. We'll ask Mr. Snyder to introduce the students.
Put me on the spot.
I knew you could handle it.
Priyanka Ranganath. Jaden Liu. Sean Siegel. Elizabeth Toda. Catherine Taylor. Ria Sharma. Sia Seshadri. Logan Taylor. Veronica Vogelman. Rebecca Phillip. Drew Vadia. Nick Santos. Josh Fabricant. Varun Raghav. Samarth Sharma. Nikhil Tangella. Jack Yatsko. Sean Fitzgerald. Jacob Fabricant. Ganesh Sarilla. And our resident fifth grader in the middle school percussion ensemble, Michael Brewster. This is our percussion ensemble, who was one of only 4 middle school groups of any genre of music in the entire East Coast that was selected to perform in Atlantic City a couple weeks ago at the All-Eastern Conference to rave reviews.
I'd be happy to.
Okay. So, so here, Mrs. Calapano.
I'll get next to Dr. Kozak. right. Great job, guys.
I got it. A little bit.
Staying on the music theme, just for a short period, we have a student who was named to the 2017 All-Eastern Music Education Conference, the NAFME. And that student is, we had Michael Prooster already, right? Yes, Michael Prooster, again.
From the high school. That's Monique from the high school. Oh, Eastern Conference?
Take pictures.
Take a picture.
My son-in-law.
Now the ego.
Okay, at this point, we now have our high school students, and we have a new recognition. It's actually from the state, and it's called the Seal of Biliteracy. And to talk about this program and to introduce our students, we have Dr. Kelly Roselle.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Kelly Roselle. I supervise language arts, world language, and media literacy. The Seal of Biliteracy, this is the first year for this program. New Jersey signed it into law last January. Other states have been doing it for several years. In order to earn the Seal of Biliteracy, students must demonstrate proficiency in language arts through the PARCC assessment, SAT, or other graduation requirement. They also take a second assessment in a language of their choice. If they earn a passing score, the state certifies that they are biliterate. Students can use this Seal of Biliteracy when applying to colleges, other jobs, or other awards. So we are incredibly proud of 15 of our high school seniors who have earned the Seal of Biliteracy. It is a real distinction. Our first student who has earned the seal in 2 languages, both Italian and Spanish, is Catherine Bernal. Okay, earning the seal in Spanish, Miranda Crowley. Again in Spanish, Erica Delgado. Natalia Dietzik. And Natalia earned in Spanish as well. Earning the seal in Italian is Lauren Esposito. Sara Fernandez earned the seal in Spanish. Cameron Fuller. Rishab Hirade. Abby Hoppy. Alexander Kim. Diego Pizarro. Andres San Pedro. Ashley Vargas. And finally, Jason Weissman. Congratulations to all of you. What did I miss? No, I said Abby Hoppy. Is she here? Is Abby Hoppy here? Oh, she is. Okay, we're good.
All right. I'll show her. That's my boyfriend. All right, stay for the picture. Can you squeeze in? Squeeze in. Next, we have a group of students for both the fall and the spring Life Smart Challenge. We have students that came in first, and actually every one of the students, I believe, came in first in these challenges, which is wonderful. Our first student, Pranav Reddy. Anshul Rana. Harshit Gupta. Congratulations. Nathan Rajesh.
Culture One guys out there. Culture One. Oh, yeah. Congratulations. Out there also is
Naveen Gidupuri.
never did. Just grandstand.
All right, we're going to take a picture of this group.
I just realized I'm just double checking, but.
Are you looking for this?
Yeah, they give me a special.
Next, we have a student who has fought through some rather some challenges, and through determination and hard work, traits that we hope that all of our students will espouse. But determination and hard work. This student has been accepted to Purdue University. Yes, and that student is Alexander Wildner.
And we're sitting here now, we're going to break. They're rich.
We're still doing this.
They're in Beverly Hills.
Mr. Morato, if you'd like to come back up, we have a number of students in our business department that will be recognized.
Oh, just like recognize them because it's going to
Okay, so we'll skip FCC.
I didn't hear anything else.
There was nothing else.
I don't think so. Yes.
Hello again.
A lot of students that are committed to
We're now going to recognize some of our students that have had outstanding accomplishments in some of our business competitions at the Monroe Township High School, several of which we just had up here from the Life Smarts competition, which is an offshoot of our Future Business Leaders of America, CTSO, here at Monroe Township High School, which we were very excited, features over 200 students here at the high school and very, very competitive. We will also be recognizing students from our brand new personal finance and economics team, which it's a pilot program right now, but we're already experiencing incredible success at the state level. And of course, we'll be representing our DECA program, which is another business CTSO. However, most of our students that we'll be calling are not here because they are currently in California competing on the national level due to their success at the state level. So our business education program we're very proud of, and we're very excited about welcoming all these students up momentarily. Sure. So we'll start with the Personal Finance and Economics team, which is directed by Ms. Terry Weiss. Our first student that we'd like to recognize is Nishant Nagalia. Not sure if he's here, but Sahil Parikh. Wahid Zafar. That's our finished number 1 in New Jersey as a wild card competition, so congratulations, guys. Number 1 in New Jersey. Next, we'll move on to DECA, which features categories ranging from marketing to finance to fashion and merchandising. We'll start with the team that was number 1 in New Jersey in financial team decision making. That's Naomi Doshi and Natasha Reddy. I believe they're in California at the moment. We also have Pari Pandey, who wrote the number 1 business growth plan in the state of New Jersey. We had the team of Rihanna Doshi and Srija Mamapali, who was number 1 in New Jersey for a fashion merchandising promotion plan. And I'm sorry, we also have Ritik Patel for financial team decision making, number 1 in New Jersey. And that's it for DECA. And if we're going to take a photo, can we have the Life Smarts students come back up from FBLA? Sure. So we can have one big, happy business family. So if you were recognized as a Life Smarts, if you're still here, why don't you come back up so we can take a big picture and we can share it with your business teachers. Yes.
It's not important, I'll forget.
You're gonna forget, I'll forget.
We'll talk about that check.
It's a nice check right now, right?
Who's
I
it
can't
from?
read it. Winter
I'll explain
storm.
it later, please. Can we not jump ahead?
Okay.
Thank you, guys. So I've referenced New Jersey Department of Education, CTS. So that stands for a Career Technical Student Organization. It is a state-sponsored organization that is in alignment with industry and career standards, and we feature many of those here at Monroe Township High School. And the next group we're going to recognize is the FCCLA, which centers on family, consumer science, consumer behavior, culinary arts, early childhood education, fashion, and design. And what's interesting about this group that we compete with is that a lot of times as a public school, we compete against technical and vocational schools which specialize in these types of classes. However, all that being said, our public school here in Monroe Township High School goes toe-to-toe with all of these schools. And this year we had 2 students finish number 1 overall in New Jersey. Well, one of which is here this evening, but we'll start with the young lady that's not here tonight, Caroline Cugini, who was number 1 in New Jersey in Art of Garde Manjar in New Jersey, which is a culinary practice. So Caroline Cugini. And our second student that I would like to recognize tonight was number 1 in evening wear in the fashion runway competition. And if my memory serves me correct, she also had a perfect score on the written exam, and that is Ria Honda. And I should also mention that our DECA program is advised by Ms. Debbie Stepensky, and FCCLA is co-advised by Ms. Amanda Doherty and Ms. Pam Valvano here at the high school. So thank you to those teachers. Almost done. So finally, we're going to go back to performing arts. We have a couple of outstanding musicians here at the high school that won some pretty impressive recognition, not only at the state level but beyond. And we'll start with Monique Legaspi, who was not only first chair All-State, I believe, for the second year in a row, but was also named to the All-Eastern Band in percussion. So Monique Legaspi. Monique is trained by Mr. Martin Griffin and Mr. Yale Snyder. Also, in the instrumental music side of things, we had a student that was named also to All-State and All-Eastern Jazz Band, and that is Graham Kozak. No relation. Graham is instructed by Mr. Martin Griffin and also Mr. Alfred Hattinger. Yep. Okay. And finally, we have some students from our choral program, which is directed by Miss Ariel Klein. Being recognized to All-State and All-Eastern Chorus is Mr. Peter Toto. Not here this evening, but also earning All-State honors is Taylor Viana, who was named All-State Mixed Chorus, and Gabriela Jimenez, who was named All-State Women's Chorus. And all of these recognitions are unprecedented success from our performing arts program, which continues to grow, and we're very thankful to the administration and the board for their support. Thank you.
We did the Jersey cake. Did you do Jersey cake and then?
Jersey cake?
Yeah, in 5th grade.
I don't think so.
Yeah, well, the kids used to do. I don't know if they still do it, but they studied. She came and took a picture of my son's Jersey cake.
And last, certainly not least, this student is the recipient of the Summers Governor's School of Engineering and Technology at Rutgers University, and that is Monique Legaspi. Congratulations. All right. So I know this has been long for everyone, but we would, if you could be just patient a little bit longer, we would like to invite all of our students who are recognized tonight. If you could please come up and in some organized fashion, come up chronological by height, no, I'm only kidding. Just come on up to the front. Our elementary students will be in the front, and all of our students who received an award tonight, please come on up so we can take one group picture.
Sorry, I know.
It's gonna be contagious. I can't look.
Just sign. Have to back everybody up. Put them on the desks.
We didn't do the Henry Rickles one. Right.
We do a little Hib next.
No, we do the Henry Rickles.
Oh, we're doing that before Hib? Hib's up on the screen.
No, I think we need to do this first. The kids are good, usually read last year.
Yes, they read it.
They read it.
What do we have to read?
They're by my son and tell him.
So that's your son with the hoodie on, number 15, I think
Yeah,
it was?
yeah. Mike, my son's got that. Go tell him he's in trouble. Hey, Marvin, where's hoodie?
to these ancient
A lot of
history.
pressure.
No,
You know, it's interesting. You see some young people very timidly, they're very shy, and you see other kids like sort of strut up with some swag. Like, definitely, like you see different comfort levels. That's right. I want to see a sports coat on
I
that
told
kid.
him like a collared shirt, like clubs
Right.
attire. He was having none of it.
Imagine.
He's like, how about I just wear jeans and a t-shirt and my sweatshirt? I'm like, whatever. I give up.
Separating. They used to use it for time practice. Boom, boom, boom. I'm named after.
I see that. I see that. There's a couple of kids up there that are.
Very impressive group.
Yes. That's it. Suit up when you're ready. It'll be perfect time. By the time when you're ready to step aside, they'll be ready to step right in.
My great uncle was he had a stamp. He died in 2000, but he had the stamp on his arm, and I would ask him what happened. And one day he said
And then you mentioned club top. My golf clothes on to go to the driving. You're supposed to wear real
Yes.
golf clothes to drive.
Yes.
I just want to hit a bucket ball. It's taking him 15 minutes.
and he was an
Can't.
Italian
Can't.
intern.
There's decorum.
Literally, and that needs to be maintained.
Well, obviously.
Because we don't use the golf enough. We don't do any of the special functions, unfortunately. Don't
Do you
use
ever
the
do
gym.
the wine dinners? The wine dinners are
I
fun.
want to. It's always like the last one was just bad timing.
Okay.
So, for better or worse, or how good it died on Friday, it's still not fixed. Hopefully tomorrow they're going to get
Taking
the car.
showers at
We're
the
going
gym?
up, going up to the gym to take a shower.
There
so
you go. That's
getting
worth
my money's worth.
There you go. You don't even have to wear your shirt.
It's fantastic. I feel like I'm now winning. I'm winning.
It's usually
I even sprayed a deodorant. Why not? You did.
You might be more kind than I.
Oh, no, Mr. Gorski, it's the Henry Rickless presentation.
Ran into
Did we
one
do,
guy,
we did the
two of
student
my showers.
recognitions and the seal?
He had the same
Yeah, the
problem.
seal by letter C, which should have been included in that student recognition.
That is so funny.
I'm very confused.
Doesn't come with, I guess a lot of those bells and whistles that you might.
Did we lose Dr. Kodak?
Yes, I'm sure it's that.
New glasses to match your shirt.
No, I have glasses to match everything,
Nicely colored.
because I buy them for $3 at the flea market.
Dying for a space for passenger, yeah.
How well done.
Yeah, no, we'll have the answer.
Yeah.
We'd like to give our outstanding students another round of applause, because we're very proud of their accomplishments.
Brings a nice element to the board meeting to have the students.
Because we're all about kids. Right.
It's a good reminder.
So at this time, we're going to move to the Henry Rickless Holocaust Memorial Committee Award presentation. Dr. Kozak?
Bonnie.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. Would you like to go up and speak? Sure. Absolutely. You want to do it from the podium? Right from the podium.
Wherever you'd like me. This seems to be awards night.
Yes, yes.
All right. I will. Thank you. Different kind of award. First of all, I want to thank Dr. Kozak and the Board of Ed members for inviting me here. I'm Dave Rothman. I work with the Henry Rickless Holocaust Memorial Committee, and I run their essay contest. Just to give you an idea of what that's about, each year, and we've been doing this for a number of years, and we're very pleased to, we first start off by getting a freshman auditorium put together. Bonnie Casaletto and Matt DeFilippis just make it seamless for us, so thank you. We then invite survivors, Holocaust survivors. These are the eyewitnesses of history, and they each have their own life stories. People like Sal Laurie, people like Paulette Way, are able to come and share with the freshman audience exactly what happened and answer questions. This goes on, the auditorium is about an hour. We then challenge the students, their choice, if they'd like to answer a number of questions, write an essay about it, 2 pages, and they are questions like, why is it important to learn about the Holocaust? What would you say if you ran into a Holocaust denier? How would you handle it? And Holocaust, it happened. Could it happen again? Could it happen here in the United States? And we give them that challenge. It's all voluntary and so forth. We got back last year, from last year's freshman class, 272 essays. Phenomenal turnout. You think about it's the end of the year, they're thinking about summer jobs, finals, etc., and they get it all done. Well, I get a committee together. Some of my committee members are here as well. 8 or 9 members. We cull down the 272 down to 33, and then we cull it down further to 10. 10 essays, perfect scores, absolutely perfect scores. With your permission, I would like to ask 1 or 2 of the essay winners if they may speak, if that works for you. Thank you. Well, I'll start ladies first, and I'll also borrow a note from Dr. Kozak. If I butcher your names, I apologize. I think you said it differently, but it was that idea. So let me ask Sonia Linguinetti, if you'd like to come up and share your essay with the board.
So my question was, what would you do or say if you came in contact with a Holocaust denier? This is my essay. 60 years ago, the Holocaust was a time of dread, sorrow, anger, and shock for those who experienced it. Today, the Holocaust is a time of mourning, loss, and tragedy for those who know loved ones with terrifying experiences of it, or for those families that have themselves lost precious brothers, sisters, grandparents, parents, uncles, aunts, and cousins in the dark times. In the future, it will be a time of remembrance, a time to recall the wrongs we have done as humans and the wrongs that can be prevented. Most importantly, the wrongs that we must be able to overcome. However, there are people that oppose the validity of the Holocaust. People that refuse to believe that something as horrible as this can be done by the evil of their own kind, perhaps out of denial or contempt. To these people, I say look around. To these people, I say look at the letters, the journals, the diaries, the existing concentration camps and gas chambers, the wishes of survival and the wishes to end all means of it. The internal conflict of hope and defeat, sorrow and hatred, secretly written in fear of punishment for the feelings that cannot be controlled. To these people, I say look at the speakers that visit from school to school and cry over the faded memories of a lost world. To these people, I say look at the way he hides his tears shed for his lost grandfather, the one who raised him because he had already lost his parents to the darkness, the parents he never even knew. And to these people, I say look at the way her hand shakes as she grips it tightly on the microphone, in fear that if she stops talking, she'll never stop crying. Look at these people, these broken dreams, these lost hopes. Now look at the people who aren't even here to share their stories, the ghosts that didn't even survive long enough to learn the word joy. And tell the world that the Holocaust did not occur. Something, some force, evil, or grief, or hatred, or intimidation caused the Nazis to follow Hitler in his dreams of a world without the valuable Jews, Christians, homosexuals, or gypsies. A dream without many of the loyal citizens of beautiful countries like Poland, Hungary, Ukraine, Russia, Holland, or France. A dream to end the innocent souls that will grow up and inspire to become doctors, lawyers, writers, artists, builders, and inventors. A dream to end the hopes of love. A dream that became a nightmare, and a nightmare that morphed into reality. Denying this, the tragedy that so many people live to tell the story of, is unimaginable. There are people that volunteer their time to relive the stories of the past, lives that they wish to forget. And there are people that showcase their disabilities when they are in the worst of pains. There are people willing to express their heartbreaking emotions just so that they can spread awareness. They do these things so that one brave soul, will remember down the road that people can be horrible. They do these things so that one day someone will stop another Holocaust from occurring. They tell their stories loud so that the kid in the back of the room texting on his phone will hear, and he may be the one to stop someone from becoming a numbered body thrown on top of a pile of an unnamed skeleton whose hair would be shaved, crafted, and sold in the form of a coat to a little boy. These memories, these emotions, and these artifacts left over from the remains of the bodies are all real. They are sitting in the hands and the minds of those who have lived to experience the calamity of the Holocaust. Why would anyone craft a story about the death of their own loved ones? As unfortunate as it is, there is hardcore evidence and proof that the Holocaust happened, even though we all wish it hadn't. And as unbelievable as it may sound, people can be both incredibly kind and incredibly evil. It is up to us to learn from the mistakes of the past. It is up to us to know how to express our feelings of the present before they turn into unending hate and disaster. Most of all, it is up to us to warn the future generations that mistakes will happen, and that it is up to the people to defeat hatred with the power of love and unity, to tie bonds and embrace those who are different. Despite hearing this, there will be those who still deny the existence of the Holocaust. They may say that anyone could have made these journals and letters, and they may say that the whole Holocaust is just one big lie, used as propaganda against Hitler and Nazi Germany. Maybe these people died because of a catastrophe within their own countries, which have used Nazi Germany as a scapegoat. This, although not likely, might be possible. However, to those that deny the Holocaust ever happened, I ask you to soak in the reality of the deaths that have occurred. The mourners, the lives lost, that sorrow, that grief, these are all things that we can accept are real. More than 11 million people were killed during the Holocaust. Millions more have experienced it, and millions more have had their families break apart because of it. We must all, whether in agreement or disagreement about the Holocaust itself, have respect for the lives that have been lost and for the lives that still lie suffering in remembrance of this devastating event. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonia. By the way, we not only say thank you, we also give a $50 gift certificate to all our winners, just so you know. I'd like to beg your patience for a moment longer. Nigel, would you come up here? Just want to share another essay. Nigel, thank you.
Hello.
Hi.
So I answered the question, why is it important for students to learn about the Holocaust, and how do you carry those lessons into today's world? It's not just important for students to learn about the Holocaust, it's necessary. Students need to understand what went on at that time and why it was so horrific and what it means and why it means so much. The Holocaust means so much to so many people because it affected so many people. It was a mass genocide and a violent discrimination against those whom the Nazis named undesirables. Jews, gypsies, blacks, homosexuals, and even disabled people were impacted directly by the events of the Holocaust. They weren't the only ones affected. Sometimes those who felt that what the Nazis were doing was wrong tried to help those who needed help. They might hide the Jews or even try to get them out of the country. These people weren't just doing the Jews a favor, they were risking their lives to do the right thing. Students need to grasp that what went on wasn't just 15 pages in a textbook, it actually happened. People had to live through it, through all the horrors, the pain, the death, the sadness, the loneliness, the fear, the torture, and not knowing what might happen to them. They've had to live with that even after the Holocaust ended, even after they found out if their friends, parents, siblings, or relatives were still alive, even after they had all their scars and bruises patched up, even after they had been cured of their sicknesses. They still had to live with all of it. Nothing you can read can show you what they experienced and how it impacted them, how they can't do anything to change what happened, how they can't take back what the Holocaust stole from them. We have to learn that the Holocaust and anything like it can't happen again. That idea needs to be passed down onto our children and onto their children. When the world commits genocide, it's killing itself, pulling humanity farther apart through violence and tragedy. That's not the world our children deserve. That's not the world we need. So when kids hear about these crimes against humanity, hope that it doesn't go in one ear and out the other. The Holocaust is an example of the world at its worst. So when we hear about it, we must strive to make a world at its best. Like Holocaust survivor Elie Wiesel puts it, even in darkness, it is possible to create light. At a time like the Holocaust, it was hard to find hope in humanity. But when we understand the past, we can learn from our mistakes and hope to prevent anything like the Holocaust ever happening again. A great place to start is by educating the next generation.
Fabulous. All right, let me announce the other of the 10 winners. We can't have all of them give their essays tonight. Nikita Srinivasan. Nikita. Thank you. Excellent job. Lola Sago. Did I come close? Thank you. Okay. Justine Nagroski. Thank you. Great. Kit Creedy. Kit Creedy. Okay. Now this one, I apologize ahead of time. Vachi Andhar. Vachi Andhar. Okay. Cindy Zhang. Thank you. Great job. Okay, Zoe Fuhr. Okay. And Sahithi Dantulori. Was I close? Thank you very much. Great. That's our presentation. Sure.
Thank God I can recognize that.
This is all from Buildings and Grounds. Oh, my notes.
I want to congratulate all of our award winners tonight from the Holocaust essays, and this is really, truly a night where we're honoring all of our students, outstanding students, and we as a board, that's why we're here, for students, us and the administration. So congratulations again to our award winners. And now we're going to go back on the agenda to a presentation on harassment, intimidation, and bullying. Do you want to introduce
Okay, my name is Lori McConnell. I'm the supervisor of grants, testing, and special projects. One of the things that I am in charge of is harassment, intimidation, and bullying within our district. We are required by the state of New Jersey to give a biannual report with facts and figures regarding bullying and harassment incidents within our school district. Why is that not working? Is it working? Yes. Mine didn't go. Okay, so this reporting period that I'm reporting for is July 1st through December 31st, 2016. You can see here the definition of bullying, which comes from the state again. HIB, harassment, intimidation, and bullying, means any gesture, written, verbal, physical act, or any electronic communication, whether it be a single incident or a series of incidents, that is reasonably perceived as being motivated by either an actual or perceived characteristic such as race, color, religion, ancestry, national origin, gender, sexual orientation, gender identity, and expression, or mental, physical, or sensory disability, or by any other distinguishing characteristic. It does take place on school property or any school-sponsored function or on a school bus or off school grounds. It must substantially disrupt or interfere with the ordered operation of the school. A reasonable person should know under the circumstances that it will have the effect of physically and emotionally harming a student or damaging the student's property or placing a student in reasonable fear of physical and or emotional harm to his or her person. It has the effect of insulting or demeaning any student or group of students, or it creates a hostile educational environment for the student by interfering with the student's education or by severely or pervasively causing physical or emotional harm to the student. At each of our schools, we do have HIB specialists. They are listed, as you can see. They receive training every year. We meet on a regular basis to discuss different procedures for investigation and incidents that are occurring, maybe patterns of behavior, things like that. So from, as I said, this, I'm sorry, I'm one ahead. From the period of, I always like to say September, but it's actually July 1st, because we really don't have anything that happens in the summer. So from July 1st, 2016 through December 31st, within our entire district, we had 7 reports of harassment, intimidation, and bullying. There were only 3 incidents that were founded, which is pretty significant. If you look at the next slide, you can see, I'm missing a slide. Oh, here we go. This is not set up with my laptop, so I'm trying to do dual duty here. It's a little tricky. You can see when we look at the different nature of the characteristics, this first slide, you can see there were no incidents at any school based on these protected categories. The next slide is where you see where the incidents occurred. We had 1 based on disability, and we had 2 based on other. Other can include, oh my gosh, any multiple number of things. I can't think of one right now. I should have come up with one, but I can't think of one. Basically, we had 1 incident at Mill Lake School that was unconfirmed, and we at the high school, at the middle school, we had 3 incidents. So that's the makeup of how it went down. We didn't have anything, believe it or not, from September to December at the high school that was a founded incident. So to me, that's terrific news. It's significantly lower than that we had in the past. The middle school had 1 based on disability, 2 based on other. And just so that you know, discipline is determined based on the code of conduct. So a lot of times it goes hand in hand. We may impose discipline based on our school codes of conduct. prior to whether we find or don't find that it is a confirmed case of bullying. All right? We do provide remediation, and I will have to say my anti-bullying coordinators at the schools are doing a tremendous job of being proactive, and it's made a huge difference for our students. Some of the HIB programs that you'll see, well, let me go ahead. I can't do two things at once. Are listed here. There are a number of others that occur on a regular basis. Our PTOs, I will say, also are very helpful in providing programs and helping out with the costs for some of these programs, because this is not state funded. We do not get any funds from the state of New Jersey for any types of programs that we implement for this. And our target populations, these are all of the people that need to be trained in some way, shape, or form. It's basically everybody. So we do take care of that as we actually do a very, very good job of it. And we've gotten much better, especially with our substitute staff, our bus drivers, and people that are just coming into the classrooms. So that's it. Any questions?
Does any member of the Board of Education have any questions for Ms. McConnell? No, so you must be doing a great job. Thank you very much. Okay, in a minute, we will be going to the budget hearing and final adoption of the 2017-2018 school budget. We'll be doing this any minute. But while we're talking, we're waiting, we are not going to have any student board members this evening because we don't have a student board member here. So I just wanted to let everyone know that Mr. Jamal, who is our senior Board of Ed rep, was chosen as one of the winners of the 37th Annual Middlesex County Secondary Principals Association Outstanding Student, and he is attending a banquet this evening with the high school principal, Mr. Goodall. The criteria for selection to this award would be the student should demonstrate academic success by ranking in the top 40% of the graduating class, and should significantly contribute to the secondary school community by participating in a variety of school activities. And some of the activities that Mr. Jamal is a part of, he's a student board rep, he's a class vice president, he's the Monroe Muslim Students Association member, and a member of the Science National Honor Society above, among other things that he does. So we congratulate him on this accomplishment. And we continue with the outstanding students this evening. Ms. Arminio?
Yeah, while we're waiting, since this is the public budget hearing and final adoption, is there going to be a public session specifically for the, okay.
There will be. After we hear the presentation,
Right.
then I will open it up to the board members to have a motion and a second, and then we will open it up to the public for comment.
Specifically for the budget and before we vote?
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you. I don't see it on here, so. I'm looking. No.
Do we know where he is?
He's coming.
Oh.
You'd like to make an entrance, Mr. Gorski, obviously, yes.
You're up.
All right, thanks.
Trying to draw it out here.
Can't be out of stretch.
I heard that overnight, though.
Mrs. McConnell never went through a presentation that quickly before. Good evening. Welcome to the final budget hearing. About a month ago, we were very pleased to roll out the tentative budget to the community. And since that time, we've had a Finance Committee meeting chaired by Mr. Paul Rutsky, where you have an opportunity from the preliminary budget to the final adoption tonight to make any changes. And we must have gotten everything right the first time because the committee recommended no changes to the budget and is very proud of our accomplishment this year. With all of the student-focused activities this evening, and because there aren't any substantive changes, we'll get through everything rather quickly. So with me is Dr. Kozak and Dr. Alvik, both who were instrumental in the development of the budget, as were the principals, and in supervisors, and all the way down to the teacher, bus driver, paraprofessional level. This is a zero-based budget that begins from scratch and is developed organically every year. Our members of our Board of Education are Mrs. Kathy Kolopanowicz, Board President, Mr. Marvin Braverman, Board Vice President, Personnel and Policy Chair, Mrs. Michelle Arminio, Mr. Ken Chiarella, Building Grounds Transportation Chair, Mrs. Jill DeMeo, Curriculum Committee Chair, Mrs. Patty Lang, Mrs. Dawn Carino, Mr. Stephen Ryback, Mr. Frank Russo, and again, Mr. Paul Rutsky, Jamesburg Representative and Finance Committee Chair. It's important to recognize all of the chairs in this process because all of them contribute greatly at their various committee levels to the construction of the budget. Finance Committee has more hands-on than others, and that's chaired again by Mr. Paul Rutsky, Mr. Frank Russo, Mrs. Michelle Arminio, Mrs. Jill DeMeo, Mrs. Dawn Carino, and Mrs. Kathy Kolopanowicz. Our board president is ex officio and sits at all the committee meetings. Board vision statement and mission statement, we're all familiar with. The district goals and the board goals are all posted on our website. And it's important to note that every expenditure of funds is scrutinized during our defense rounds to make sure that they comply with board and district goals. Our executive summary this year, we were tasked with preparing a very comprehensive budget, meeting the needs of over 504 projected new students, addressing aging facilities without the expectation of additional aid. It's a good thing we didn't count on any more aid because with the additional assessment for charter schools, we actually are at a deficit position of about $100,000 compared to last year. And by suppressing taxes, by maximizing budget savings through surplus. We are very pleased that we are leaving $600,000 of banked cap, which would have been statutorily available for this year's budget, on the table. And we were able to do that because Dr. Alvik, Dr. Kozak, and I implemented budget saving strategies, including a budget freeze in January for all non-essential spending. That saved over $1 million. Our excess surplus grew by $1.2 million for the general fund. All of that suppresses taxes. Key budget considerations again, 504 new students. That's a small elementary school of new students that we're expecting next year alone. Aging facilities, we have over $2 million of expenditures within the budget, within the cap, to do roofing projects, asphalt paving, and the procurement of buses. Dr. Alvik could speak a little bit about the core curriculum content area that was expanded this year on the budget. We are trying desperately to keep student-teacher ratios down. We have 30 new staff members in the budget, most of them instructional, and that's to keep the ratios down. And we are all most concerned about the tax impact on the community. As you could see, all of us are engaged in this fight for fair funding. We recognize that about 88% of the revenues required to fund the school district's operation are raised from the local tax levy, which is unprecedented. And we'll get into some of the reasons for that later. But we want to milk all of the educational performance out of every dollar, and we think we're doing a fine job at that. Budget creation timeline, once again, it starts with the budget philosophy over the summer. We look at historical enrollment patterns, we review staffing needs, we develop the budget, and again, that's zero-based. It starts at the lowest school level and makes its way up. It's presented to Dr. Alvik, Dr. Kozak, Laura Allen, and myself, along with the supervisors. where they have to defend everything in the budget and show how it's in alliance with board and district goals, that it's efficient, and that we have established parity with other similar schools. Then we go wait for the governor's budget address. State aid award comes 2 days later. The board unanimously adopted the tentative budget, and then tonight we have the final public hearing. Dr. Alvick, would you like to talk about the programs in the budget? Sure.
So I'm not going to go through each line item specifically. I think I went into a lot more detail in April on the budget and what's incorporated into our budget. But we are aligned with the New Jersey school student learning standards. So all of our curriculum, we look at it on a 5-year rotation and make sure that we're meeting the needs of our students. Our budget includes provisions for special education, gifted and talented, AP, honors, all of those courses for our students. Technology is very important. It's something that our students use all the time. Some of them were born with it in their hands, I think. So we make sure that we're incorporating that effectively in our classroom, not just using technology for technology's sake, but making sure that there's a purpose for using that in our classrooms. We incorporate our adult education program. We're making sure that we have character education programs within our schools, and all of our assemblies, and many of our assemblies are a thank you to the PTAs and PTOs in our district for providing those for our students. We have many athletics and co-curricular programs that we offer our students, and AP courses.
Very good. Thank you. Here's some pictures. These slides are all available on our website. We have many fine programs here. This is what we consider a comprehensive budget. There's something here to inspire every student. Also included in this budget are new bus vehicles to bring our busing operations back in-house. We had a terrible opening a few years ago where reliance on contracted buses caused widespread problems. The instability of the driver on the bus, replacement staff member every day, not having directions, familiarity with the area. There is no service better performed than our in-house staff, and that's across the board. We are also replacing the Barclay Brook roof, and we are doing it responsibly. That is a beautiful historical building, and instead of just overlaying it, we are actually replacing the woodwork in its original form. And we're very proud of that school, and we're going to maintain it accordingly. And we have deteriorating asphalt throughout the district. It's easy to ignore these items here, especially when you have cap considerations. But a responsible Board of Education does not just kick these items down the road. We've been addressing these every single year to the tune of $1.5 to $2 million or more, and we do that within the budget, within the cap, with a growing district, and with no help from the state. What programs are in the budget? 4 54 passenger buses, 2 25 passenger vans, 3 additional contracted drivers with benefits, $666,000 for transportation costs. Capital budgets, partial roof replacement at Barclay Brook School, replace deteriorating asphalt, pre-K and kindergarten playground surfacing. We applied for a ERIC North Safety Grant, which contributed $31,372 toward the playground restoration. We are painting and restoring the steel structural columns at the Monroe Township Middle School, which are white in front of the building. We're replacing a 1998 maintenance truck and a 2002 dump truck, which are nearly rotted away from salt spreading. We're purchasing a new woodland sign, and instructional equipment at the high school, middle school wrestling mats, replace 2 transportation gas pumps, which are beyond their useful life. And again, that will be all through the regulated permit process, and HVAC equipment replaced at Barclay Brook School.
So with all of the accomplishments that we heard about this evening for our students, which is wonderful, we also have these accomplishments that we've done. Our graduation rate is above the state average. It's very high. I can't see the numbers from where I am. I think it's 97%, 97.3% is our graduation rate. We have 86% of our students are going to college after graduation. We have many AP courses that we offer our students, and students are taking those courses and earning college credit before they even leave our high school. And we are also still, we heard tonight about the New Jersey Seal of Biliteracy, so we have 15 students who earned that this year. And we're still a member of the Innovate New Jersey, which shows some of our innovative practices, like our world language blended learning model at our grades 3 to 5, and the one-to-one iPad integration at the high school.
This pie chart, again, is available on our website. It demonstrates where the money comes from. And unfortunately, the maize-colored large portion at the bottom represents the local tax levy. It varies every year, depending on the revenue sources. 87.25% of all revenues required comes on the backs of the local taxpayers. This is a fight that all of us are aggressively in for over a decade now, and we're beginning to get optimistic that we may have some good news. Key facts on state aid. I won't bore you with the details, but there's two types: equalization aid and categorical aid. Equalization aid is the lion's share of state aid. It's designed to support a district's adequacy budget. We receive zero. We have always received zero in the 18 years I've been here, because the state doesn't fund the formula. It's been underfunded by $8 billion over Governor Christie's tenure, and they ration what is left to distribute to schools. Monroe is deemed by the state to be affluent and wealthy, and because of that, we receive no equalization aid. The state of New Jersey says you could provide a thorough and efficient budget on your own. We're happy to allow you to do so. Categorical aid, on the other hand, is another type of state aid that is eligible based upon different categories: special education spending, transportation aid. I'm pleased to say that our transportation department is the most efficient rated in the county, among the highest in the state. We're eligible for over $2 million of categorical transportation aid, but with the state phasing it out, we only get about $500,000. Special education aid is the largest type. That's about $1.9 million. State aid is only approximately 3% of our total revenues to support the school budget. And the federal government is about 1%. The federal government, just on historical standards, has always given the burden of funding schools to the states. We've handed out dollars and cents information here. With sources of revenue, again, show you where it comes from on a comparative basis. And the state aid history is a sad story going back a few years in that demonstration. Budget appropriation considerations. This is the other side of the coin. The first one's revenues, the second one's appropriations. They have to balance. And budget appropriations are driven by student enrollment. We've picked up 1,600 students over the past 8 years. And this slide shows how the state aid has corresponded with that enrollment growth. You would think that the state would be responsible and contribute a proportionate amount. However, as you could see from the diplomas increasing, we've picked up 1,600 new students, 30% increase over the last 8 years, while we've recognized a $2.1 million decrease in state aid of about 40% of our total. So while we pick up 30% more students, we lose 40% state aid. Where does the money go? This pie chart demonstrates that. When you put in an allocation of benefits from staff and transportation charges, which are directly required and related to students, we spend about 62% of all expenditures directly on instruction. The money does not go to administrative costs. The purple shows the rising county limit that you're able to spend on a per pupil basis, and the orange shows Monroe's administrative costs per pupil. You see a slight uptick in this year's budget, and that's because of the pent-up demand for administrators, particularly at the school levels, to maintain safety and the instructional process. Appropriation detail, there's a detailed handout of all of our appropriation, and again, that's on our website. And this is something that we're very proud of: cost savings from shared services. We have an interlocal service agreement for food services where we earn $40,000 by providing lunches to the Academy Learning Center. We have technology services. We apply for E-rate funding, and we have a shared service agreement with the township for 911 and Motorola radios. We have TV hosting services with the township. Professional development, we're proud to share with our receiving district of Jamesburg. It saves both districts money and improves the quality of professional development. And this year, we are very proud that we developed our own in-house proprietary fund for before and after school care. It's called Falcon Care, and early childhood enrichment is another segment. In that program's inaugural year, we had a net income exceeding $500,000. The board directed that money to develop into some retained earnings to keep some roots, but in the future, the board can direct that money for any purpose, to reduce taxes, to meet growing instructional needs, to expand the program, whatever they see fit. Solar energy renewable credits, we make about $30,000 a year at Oak Tree on solar panels. We sell electricity back. That was over $100,000 years ago, but the federal subsidies have dried up. And use of building fees pay about $117,000 a year from following the board policy. Cost savings from shared services. We have shared service agreements, again, with the township, recycling, transportation services. Anybody who we could share a transportation route with, meaning another school district, we call them up on the phone and we asked if we could share the route. If your child's going the same place ours is, let's split the cost. And one thing that we're very proud of, again, is health benefits. After receiving a health benefit proposal from Horizon exceeding 13%, we solicited competitive quotes. And we got a teaser rate from a particular company that we took back to Horizon, and we negotiated from 13 a 2.5% increase in health benefits. This is over a $20 million line item in the budget, so this is very material. With the contractual collections of Chapter 78 monies from staff, up to 35% of our benefit costs that many of us are paying, we saved, and our health benefit account is increasing 0% for next year. You will not find another school district or business anywhere that can demonstrate that kind of effectiveness in saving money through health insurance. So how does it all pan out in the tax money and my pocketbook? A couple years ago, we had a 4.5-cent increase, $138.44 to the average taxpayer in Monroe. Last year, we made an improvement of 1 cent, dropping it to 3.5-cent increase, or $108.66 on an average assessed home. This year, we're very pleased that we're offering a very comprehensive budget. We're spending to cap without the use of bank cap. We're using surplus where we generated it ourselves during the year, as the state aid has actually decreased from the prior year. And because of those efforts, and also because of the 2% rateable growth in town, this year's budget is a very attractive 1.2-cent increase, or $37.43 per annum on an average assessed home. That's incredible. Our average over the last 15 years is about a 7-cent increase. So you could see the great strides that this Board of Education has made in trying to be responsible about minimizing the tax burden, considering the growth and the lack of state contribution, while never compromising on the educational product that we offer. Dr. Kozak?
So as Mr. Gorski has stated, and Dr. Albeck has stated, we are very happy with the budget to present to you, the public, and of course to our Board of Education we're recommending for approval. We think that we're still financing our quality programs. We have not made any cuts in the instructional areas, but we have reduced costs in every single non-instructional area that we can. We are also planning for the future. We know that we have new students coming in, actually monthly, and we have made plans to be prepared for that. So we're looking for that. We're trying to be fiscally responsible. We know that we're going to be going out to the community and asking the community to help us fund new schools to help us deal with our growing student enrollment. And of course, that building of those new schools will be over the next 5-year period. So we're doing everything we can to our Monroe Township taxpayers to say, we're trying to be fiscally responsible now, and we're asking for your support as we move forward and prepare for our new students coming in. So with that, we will be asking the Board of Education to approve this budget tonight. It has already been approved by the County Board of Education, or the County Office of Education, and has gone through the Finance Committee, as well as all of the other committees are aware of it, and the rest of the board. So thank you, as always, for your continued support. Thank you.
Mrs. Koloponowicz, members of the Monroe Township Board of Education, it is recommended that the members of the Monroe Township Board of Education approve the following amounts and resolution for the 2017-2018 final budget. Be it resolved by the Monroe Township Board of Education that the 2017-2018 general fund budget be adopted in the amount of $112,375,839, and the general fund local tax levy in the amount of $98,472,001, and a special revenue fund in the amount of $1,101,208, and a debt service budget in the amount of $11,158,366, and a debt service local tax levy in the amount of $10,267,265, whereby the 2017-18 budget totals $124,635,413. And whereas the Monroe Township Board of Education has been notified of state aid amounts, and whereas such state aid amounts are, for the 17-18 categorical special education aid is $1,976,819, and for the 17-18 the categorical security aid is $103,764, and for the 17-18 categorical transportation aid is $570,717, and for the 17-18 the debt service aid is $635,679, and for the 17-18 the other state aids consisting of park readiness aid of $58,980, and per pupil growth aid of $58,980, and professional learning community aid of $62,515, and host district support aid of $596. Whereas the Monroe Township Board of Education has estimated a state aid amount pursuant to application for the 17-18, the estimated extraordinary aid amount is $214,453. And whereas policy 6471 and NJAC 6A23A-7.3 provides that the Board of Education shall establish in the annual school budget a maximum expenditure amount that may be allocated for such travel and expense reimbursement for the 17-18 school year. Now therefore be it resolved that the Monroe Township Board of Education hereby establishes the school district travel maximum for the 17-18 school year at the tentative sum of $158,422. And be it further resolved that the school business administrator shall track and record these costs to ensure that the maximum amount is not exceeded. And whereas as a result of the extraordinary budget efficiencies created by the administrative stewardship of the 15-16 budget, which led to an increase in excess surplus of $1,124,311 as compared to the prior year as an alternative revenue source to taxes, the board has not exceeded the maximum spending authority, and furthermore has not used the $600,000 of a bank cap created in 16-17. Notwithstanding the continuing inequity in state aid funding, as well as the significant student growth and widespread facility needs in the district. And now therefore let it be resolved that the superintendent of schools and the business administrator board secretary file all the required documents with the executive county superintendent.
So moved. Ms. Arminia? You can second that. Mr. Rutsky? Any comments or questions from members of the Board of Education? Mr. Russo?
I was just going to ask if it was part of the board strategy to, administrative strategy to coincide the events of the students with the budget. I was going to say it's a good thing.
Oh,
because
okay.
yeah.
Well, in that case, yes, we planned it all along the way. Absolutely.
Because you get to see the product.
Yes.
And very high achievers
I think we've been trying to do that at every meeting where we have honored our students for some activity or another. I know we honored the band for their band trip and to go to Hawaii, and we did something last time too. But
Yeah, last year is when we started it, and we did it, we had the student recognition in June, but we just found there was so many things going on in June. We have retirees coming back, there's a lot of different things that we decided to move it up. But since you stated that, sure, we'll take credit for that. Yes, we planned it for the budget meeting tonight.
Okay, no, it was a very, very good plan, so.
Thank you, Mr.
Thanks.
Yeah, and a good sales pitch.
Anyone else? Mr. Ryback?
I just really want to compliment not only the board members, but the central administrators. I know how hard you all work to run an outstanding school system, caring so much about the kids and the taxpayers. It's very hard to create a balance with those two, and we're coming out on top every year because of your hard work. So thank all of you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Ms. Arminio?
I just have some technical questions. The $37.43 increase in the tax levy, is that per 1,000 or 100 assessed value of the properties? Please.
For an average assessed home in Monroe Township, and this figure is provided by the municipal government, for 2017, the average assessed home in this township is $312,219. And for that average assessed home, we calculate a school tax increase of $37.43 on that valuation.
For the year or per month?
For the year.
Okay. So all right, so what is the increase per 1,000 or per 100 of?
That refers to what we call cents.
Yeah.
And we have a 1.2 cent increase. Last year, the rate was 1.4355. This year, the projected rate is 1.4235. It's a 1.2 cent increase. It is the lowest natural tax increase that we've had in 18 years.
And that's amazing since we're getting a large enrollment as we speak. So yeah, kudos to you. I think it is extraordinary that we have been able to stave off enormous increases, which I'm afraid might be coming down the road, because of the amount of enrolled students that we have to accommodate every year. So to the staff at the zero level when they're starting to do their budgets, I appreciate the teachers and the staff members in each school and everyone in each category for doing that. And another technical question, the rateable increase per household, is it a per household increase because we had a reevaluation, or are we getting new ratables, or is it a little bit of both?
Madam?
Yes.
The reevaluation of ratables occurred a few years ago.
Right.
The ratable base this year is growing 2.3% through this community.
Right. And you may not know this, but I was just curious, does it have to do with the ratable increase that occurred a few years ago, or is it because we have new ratables coming in, or like I said, it might be both?
It's a very good question. It's the latter. It's the new ratables coming on. It has nothing to do with the reeval. That's why I referenced natural tax increase this year. We actually had a tax decrease occur in 2014 with the reevaluation.
Well, not to everybody, not overall.
Not overall, but when you put it all in the pot.
When you put it in the, right.
Yes.
Okay, and the curriculum, we had, I think I remember over $100,000 for curriculum or instructions in our budget philosophy. That's been maintained?
Yes, everything in the budget philosophy has been accomplished with one exception. We had presented the need of funds for the development of the transportation depot, which we expect the township to donate indeed to the Board of Ed very soon, within a matter of days. That's the lot on Buckaloo Avenue, adjacent to the existing school lot for us.
I believe it was on the agenda, agenda on Monday to be voted on the 1st of May.
Yes.
I believe that is on the agenda.
That's a very generous contribution because, as we've informed the board, our transportation lot is full and is presenting problems. We're having a difficult time adding buses, adding staff, or parking them at the schools. Buses need a particular electrical block heater that's expensive to have to put in. And this amount of money in its location serves the district very well. We'll have 2 road access over there, and it will be able to expand our fleet.
And I think I have 2 more items. One is the child care. When do you anticipate us paying that loan off?
The MECA loan, which we inherited back when that program was extinguished, has been fully paid off. The board passed a resolution about a year ago, and that has been fully satisfied. There was not any taxpayer use of money in that initiative.
Well, that's extraordinary, and I thank you for developing that and working that out. I know that business plan actually worked. And the other thing, just I'd like to say, as just a member of the community, deferred maintenance on facilities is really never a good idea. So I think it's very important that things like the asphalt and things that we really can't see that are not very glamorous are to be addressed on a regular basis, because the cost of deferring that kind of maintenance and those kinds of repairs really absolutely doubles and triples in the long run. So that's wonderful that we're doing that. I hope people understand that it may not be flashy to pave over a parking lot, but it's really important. It's also good for safety that we're repairing our facilities. So thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, at this time, I'm going to open it up to the public to make your comments on just on the budget, not on funding or anything on the agenda, but if anybody has anything they would like to say in regard to the budget, please come to the microphone, state your name and address, and we will adhere to our 3-minute time limit. Okay.
Just congratulations.
I'm Krishna Tekale from 11 Jake Place. I have a question. We're talking about 500 new students coming in. So that would typically mean around 200 to 300 new houses. Have you considered that the new houses would also be paying taxes?
Do you want to take that?
Yes, sir. That correlation's not exactly right. The Board of Education utilizes a demographer who's an expert in the field, and he works closely with the township on determining the birth ratios within the town and a lot of specific historical information, and uses scientific methods to project the number of students. And we have 504 projected new students next year. Another important fact on that is we have currently 1,000 unhoused students in the district. And an unhoused student means students beyond the aggregate capacities of the schools. And we have a projected 1,500 new students in the next 5 years. So that over in the next 5 years, we project we will have 2,500 unhoused students. Again, students beyond the technical capacities of their schools in the aggregate. 2,500 is approximately the full size of this building, so if you want to visualize it that way. So we've been studying for a long time now through the Student Growth Advisory Committee the need to expand our schools, and with the collaborative efforts of the community and the democratic process that led to it, which Dr. Kozak would like to speak to, we are now in the framework of a bond referendum that we're going to present to the community shortly.
If I just want to make sure that I understood your question. I believe you also asked about ratables from new housing? Yes. Yes. So, Ms. Gortz, you want to speak to that?
The new residents and the new ratables absolutely is calculated in this tax presentation that we gave before and the tax rate. Township does a fantastic job coming up with the rateable figures, and they report that to us as early as January. And then I receive a certified valuation of ratables, and then I present the tax information to the board as part of the budget process. So every contribution of new ratables is included in the tax calculation, and the ratables has a suppressing effect on taxes. I said at the preliminary budget adoption, it's like if we rented a movie for $5 and we had 5 people watching it, everybody would contribute $1. That would be the rate. But if we invite 10 people, it cuts everybody's rate by half. That's how the expanding ratable base in this town shares the tax levy, and everybody's individual rate decreases. So that's one of the benefits of the growth in the community.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, Elliot Stroll, 110 Mendoker Drive, Jamesburg, New Jersey, President of the Board of Education of Jamesburg. And I would just like to commend you for a brilliant presentation of this budget. Knowing what the challenges are that we all face in every school district in this state right now, it is just absolutely amazing that you've kept your increase to such a minimal level, and hopefully people appreciate it because it's a miracle. Nice work.
Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name's Ira Nelson. I live at 87 Crescent Way. My question regards this whole issue of state aid and fair funding. What is the game plan to try to get more state aid and more funding for this district? We've been asked to sign some petitions in the community that I live in, but sort of, as we used to say where I live, that in a token, I guess it's a Metro card today, would get you on a subway. Is there a game plan? Is there a strategic plan to do something about this? Because, yeah, this was a great budget, but we all know what's coming. And that's really the looming issue that I think we all face, and I think we all know it. What is the, going forward, what is the plan?
Well,
Is there a plan?
we do have a plan. Back in January, I created the ad hoc committee for fair funding. And if you wait a few more minutes, Mr. Chiarella, who is chair of that committee, will give you an update on what that committee is doing and what we plan on doing in the future. He's going to be doing that right after the budget adoption under committee reports.
Isn't there something that you could tell us about this?
That's
Or-
next on the agenda.
Would you want me to?
No, go ahead.
Okay. I don't want to steal Mr. Chiarella's thunder because he's done an extraordinary job with the committee. A lot of hard work and a lot of community effort. A lot of folks have rolled up their sleeves and have really put some good ideas into place. But it's a two-prong approach as defined by the letter from Senator Greenstein, Assemblyman Benson, and D'Angelo. The first approach is the immediate possibility of addressing the current funding formula by, number one, eliminating the hold harmless stabilization concept. Okay? Back before the school funding, school SFRA 2008, the current funding formula was put into place. Adjustment aid was a type of state aid to help phase in those getting a lot of monies in the urban centers to the new formula. They've been receiving that. The state has then frozen the budgets. They're continuing to receive it, although it was supposed to be phased out. So stabilization is hurting growing districts like Monroe. It's over-subsidizing districts in the large urban areas who are fighting to keep it. And that's the first approach, to get rid of stabilization adjustment aid. And you can find out a lot of good information about this on our website. Also, the growth limitations on the budget have to be lifted. Districts have to be, the formula has to be run, and we have to get credit for the growth that we have here and stop the limitation on categorical aid. And the longer term approach, which is the most important, is to come up with a new funding formula, because Monroe will never be satisfied under School Funding Reform Act 2008, even if it's fully funded, even if it's run, which it hasn't been, because of that adequacy budget equalization aid issue that I brought up before. All of the state mandates that we're required to keep up with, All are calculated in the adequacy budget. The state needs to responsibly contribute money toward that. It's grossly unfair that Monroe receives $0 on that, while our neighbors in South Brunswick get $30 million a year. That's an incredible disparity. If we had $30 million a year in that type of aid form, or even half that, it would result in a tax decrease in this community that would make your head spin. So those are the approaches, and I'm sure we'll hear more about that.
Are you confident on those approaches? I think the assemblymen have been at this for a while. Our state senator has been at this for a while. And I think somebody once said the definition of insanity is to do the same thing again and again and expect different results. How optimistic are you, really?
We're optimistic. Statewide, there's a lot of school districts getting behind this. There's a lot of news about suing the state. I have a suspicion we're going to hear something about that soon. And also, Monroe's message has been proliferated through all of the Senate and Assembly houses. They know Monroe. When we show up there, it's here's Monroe again. So, and we have 40,000 residents in this community. Approximately 5,000 or more signed the petition. That's got some influence with the legislators. So we are optimistic.
Hopefully you're right. Two suggestions. Has anyone ever thought of a lobbyist, perhaps, in this vein, number one? And two, I think ultimately it will be settled in the courts. There would have to be some sort of legal action taken, maybe with other districts that are in the same situation that we are. Maybe not as bad as us, but dealing with the same kinds of circumstances that we are.
Yeah. The accountability regulations will not allow the district to hire a lobbyist in that regard. Mm-hmm. So you're looking at the administrative lobbyists at the table here. We've taken on that fight.
I think Mr. Tyrrell.
And of course the board members too.
We've also spoken to the Assembly. We've also spoken to the Senate. Recently, this past Monday, and I know I'm taking a little bit from Mr. Chiarella, we attended the Assembly budget hearing where the acting Commissioner of Education spoke to the Assembly Committee, and she had some very tough questions that she had to answer. But it was standing room only, with other districts just like we are, wearing different color shirts to make ourselves heard. And though we were not allowed to speak, they did hear us, they acknowledged us, and they know that Monroe and other districts like us are in a very sad situation here. We were looking at one district who was upset because they only get 43% of their budget covered, and we were sitting there going, we only get 3%. So the inequities are enormous.
Agreed. Okay, thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak?
Prakash Parab, 33 Dana Drive. First of all, just sticking to the budget, I congratulate every one of you and Mr. Growski for that. But please keep in mind that we are here as a community. If anything is lacking with the quality of education, don't hesitate. It is saving few dollars versus losing long-term education for our students. So please don't hesitate. Any issues are there, bring it at a board meeting, and we can take it to the council, whatever we can do, we can take it to the legislatures. Okay. And I think the most important is we are not communicating well. We should have the gentleman ask the same questions we have been asking for several months. So I think we should communicate. We should think of how we can communicate. Last few days we have been doing great job. So I think the public has to know about that. Okay. So
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Good idea. Anyone else? Then I will close the public forum, and before we vote, I just wanted to say a couple things. The budget process is a year-round process. Every time a committee does their job and brings something to the Board of Education and we vote on it, that's a budget item. So we're making contributions to the budget all year long. And then I just like to thank the community because they have always been very supportive of what we do here. And knowing that you have to pay 88% of our budget, that's a big chunk of money to come out of our residents. And if we are successful in getting our fair share, we would be able to lower the increases so there is no tax increase in Monroe. And that's what our objective is as a board. And lastly, I'd like to thank the administration for this phenomenal budget because it doesn't get much better than this. And I said last time, Mr. Gorski has magic numbers. I don't know where he gets them from, but to be able to accomplish what we're accomplishing in this budget for $37.43 a year in a tax increase, to me is phenomenal. So if there's no more questions by the board, we'll have a roll call, please.
Thank you, Madam. Mrs. Arminio.
Yes.
Mr. Braverman.
Yes.
Mr. Chiarella.
Yes.
Mrs. DeMayo.
Yes.
Mrs. Lang.
Yes.
Mr. Ryback.
Yes.
Mr. Russo.
Yes.
Mr. Rutsky.
Yes.
And Mrs. Koloponowicz.
Yes.
Madam Board President, I'm pleased to report the adoption of the budget has unanimously passed. Thank you very much
Thank
to the
you.
board and the
Thank
community
you.
for your support.
Thank you very much. Okay, we'll move on to the agenda with committee reports. If there's any committee that needs to report this evening, Mr. Chiarella, he had his hand up first.
I have a couple reports, and I beat you, Jill. We had a Buildings, Grounds, and Transportation Committee meeting on April 19th, and we have some important things. Some of this was covered in the budget information, but we had 5 roofing bids for the recovering of the roof in Barkley Brook. Is that too close? And for the millwork, which is paint removal. There's some lead on the cupola. How you say that?
Cupola.
Cupola? Yeah. I knew how to say it. I was testing you guys. So Safeway received the work for their bid. So we were budgeted at $713,962, and they came in at $585,000. So we're going to be under budget on that by $128,000. So that's a good thing. The Barkley Brook school paving. So the contractor that got that bid came in at $381,000. The budget was $377,000, so we're $4,300 over budget on that bid, on that project. But now I'm going to cancel that out with some good news here. So that check by our flag for $37,837 is from a FEMA grant for a storm that happened back in January of 2016, Winter Storm Jonas. I don't even remember that storm, but apparently the administration found out that we could go out for a grant through FEMA. They did that, and they were able to get us almost $38,000 back on that for snow removal because it was, I guess, deemed a superstorm. I don't know. I don't remember the exact process. Mr. Gorski, I don't know if you want to go into that quickly.
Thank you. Very quickly, we were the only school district in the state to go to that FEMA meeting and request that grant money. Mr. Tague fought very hard for that. It was really his initiative. We supported him in that role, and he fought for it, and he came home with it, $37,837. Which is a reimbursement to the school district for snow plowing, clearing, and so on, which will replace and supplant the monies budgeted for in that category.
And that goes into the general fund, correct?
Yes, sir.
Which is good. The last things that I have as far as from our meeting, from the Buildings and Grounds meeting, is we also looked at a slight change in the plan for bus parking on Schoolhouse Road across from the board office. It's just a slight shift in how we're going to pave the lot for the buses. And then we looked at the plans for the high school addition, for the middle school and then for the elementary school. So we were able to look at the just the overall projections of how those buildings would look and how they would fit in, and how the interior would work with the overall, educating of the kids, and where the science labs were and things like that. So that was pretty interesting. And that's what I have for buildings and grounds. Now, we also had an ad hoc committee meeting a little over a week ago, and then we had a trip to Trenton. So we went on the 24th, as we talked about a little while ago, to Trenton to attend the Assembly Budget Committee hearing, and that was very interesting. And we went with representing Monroe with our purple shirts. There were a number of other districts there, and all of those districts are underfunded districts that are looking for funding, and looking for, particularly for the state to fund the funding formula. And so it was very important that we were there in the interim between our ad hoc committee meeting and that meeting. Our committee, made up of Democrats, Republicans, and independents, made up of a lot of people who are here in this room today, just citizens and a couple board members who are volunteering their time to work hard for funding, and they're putting in a lot of time and a lot of effort. Well, they went out went and got signatures for a petition, and we ended up with about 5,000 signatures that will be delivered on May 2nd to the Senate hearing, the Senate budget hearing. So anyone who would like to go to that hearing is welcome to join us. We're going to have 2 buses that will transport our residents from here to Trenton, and that's on May 2nd at 8:30, and we're going to meet at the soccer fields, and the buses will leave promptly at 8:30. We'll have shirts for everyone. If you do decide to come, please make sure you bring refreshments, drinks, something to drink, something to snack on if you need that, and anything else that you could think of that you might need in the interim, because it probably will be crowded. They do have bathrooms and things like that, but you could be standing for a prolonged period of time. You could be waiting and things like that. What I would like to say is, with regards to that, is that this committee has, like I said, has been working very hard. They're putting a lot of effort into this, a lot of nights, a lot of weekends, and things like that. What I want to come to the board with today is that I want to get a vote of confidence from all of you. What I don't want our committee to do is to continue to work and continue to fight for funding and to continue to go through all these gyrations and then turn around and have a full board later on say, well, this isn't a direction that we want to go in, or this isn't something that we're going to condone. So what I'd like to do is ask for a vote of approval on some of what we see in the committee as some of our next steps. They alluded, Mr. Gorski alluded to it, and our board president alluded to it a little while ago. What I would like to do is ask for us, I'd like to make a motion, and I am making a motion, to ask for us to pursue the exploration of a lawsuit against the state of New Jersey for fair funding. So I want to see us go through now and wait to see if our legislature takes up the governor's challenge to come up with a way to fund education in the right way in 100 days. But I don't want to wait 100 days and then have us sit here and go, wow, they didn't come up with what they said they were going to come up with, or they really didn't come up with a solution. Maybe they came up with a solution to get reelected, but they didn't come up with a solution that's going to fund us. I want to make sure that we're protected by that. And Mr. Gorski brought up an analogy earlier about a $10 movie ticket. You double the amount of people that are going, and now the $10 movie ticket only costs $5 for that group of people. But that analogy only works if you don't have to build a bigger movie theater to fit all of those viewers in. And that's where we're at. We need to build bigger movie theaters to house all the people that are coming to watch that movie. And that's going to cost a lot more than the entry price that we talked about earlier. It's not fair that our residents have to fund that. And it's not fair that while there are a number of districts that are overfunded and don't need it, and there are districts like South Brunswick that gets $30 million, that we're funded, we send out $39 million and we get back $3 million. That's not fair to our residents. So what I'd like to do is protect us and make sure that that we're ready, and we're for anything that could happen, including them coming back and saying that they're only going to give us, $400,000 or $1 million or something like that. Now, I know the argument against the lawsuit is that we have a referendum on the horizon. We have a lot of things going on that a lawsuit then could detract from. My feeling, though, is that if we're right, and I believe we are, and if we do what I'm asking us to do, which is to explore a lawsuit by partnering with other districts to defray the cost, to help us build an argument, and to help us make some noise. One district like Monroe screaming about funding isn't going to get us anywhere. But maybe 5 or 10 or 20 or 40 or 200 and some odd districts that are not funded properly, standing up and joining us in a lawsuit will scare the politicians into doing something and doing the right thing. So I think that then could help us with our funding issue, with the need for a referendum, that we could then make enough noise that will be properly funded. So what I'm asking is for the board to vote on a motion for us to explore, not to file a lawsuit today, but to explore a lawsuit to allow us to reach out to other districts. Freehold Township just filed a lawsuit against the state. Kingsway has a lawsuit currently pending. I talked to Chesterfield. They're looking at a lawsuit. That we start to do the same thing. And I think that it'll come to a head, at some point where other districts will do the same thing, and then we'll be a force to be reckoned with. And that's when we're going to be able to get our way.
So you're making a motion for the Monroe Township School District to explore, to do an exploration of a lawsuit?
Yes.
Okay, is there a second to that? Okay, second by Patty. Comments or questions or discussion by the board?
On the motion, I think it may be clear, and not just to explore a lawsuit, but to explore a lawsuit to bring charges to the state to improve our state funding. I think we have to explain what the exploration of the lawsuit is about.
Yes, I agree with that.
To bring about fair funding to our district?
Yeah.
Okay. Comments or questions by board members? Mr. Russo?
It's, at the last meeting, I said I thought that we needed more time to develop a strategy, and I think that's more or less what I was getting at. The way I envisioned it, the committee being set up, is that we would discuss amongst ourselves the options that we could take. But one option was already taken, which was the letter that was signed. But then we would set up working groups within the committee that would work on the different options. So for example, you would have a group that would work on the lawsuit, even if it's just gathering information. You would have another group that, because we even talked about registering as a charter school, even if it was to scare somebody to do it, or look into the procedure to do it. Another one was the letter, whether it's through Greenstein or through citizens and the board. So that's what we needed to do from the beginning. And we could have worked on all of those projects in tandem. And that would have been the strategy. So one of the things I would suggest is that I think we need to do some training in terms of what funding actually means, because when we had that meeting, I mentioned the two items that were, two variables that are included for the adequacy budget, which was the Monroe's property wealth, and Monroe's income wealth. And I was shouted down by some people on the committee who said, no, you're wrong. And then even the consultant, Mr. Goldstein, said, no, he suggested that may even be unconstitutional. So the board has to understand what we're really fighting for and know what all the mechanisms are included, all the variables that are included in the funding, so we know what we're fighting for. And then we can, take it from there. And I think that was part of the strategy. We knew everybody. I mean, I didn't know anybody on the committee except for you and maybe one or two other people. So I think that right now it's maybe not too late to go back to that, but I would suggest setting up groups assigning people to do certain tasks. And lawsuit, the charter school, letter writing campaign, you had a group which was set up to do talking points and communications, right? So that's the way it should be broken up. Well, I've done a lot of these strategy type things at the UN in the 35 years I've been there, managing projects. And anyway,
here's my thought process on on the whole thing, is that I'm looking for, I don't want this committee made up of, like I said, of volunteers to expend all this time and all this effort and then come back to a board that says, maybe a lawsuit's not what we want to do. Maybe we want to go and just do a letter writing campaign or an email campaign, or we just want to sit here and yell at the cameras all day. What I'm asking us to do is to say, yeah, we want to move forward. So I agree with you that we need to break up into those groups. But at the last committee meeting, we did talk about that.
Mr. Braverman?
But the one thing that I want to just express is that it is April. If we don't make noise, and a lot of noise fast, November will be here, and we're going to not have the strength that we need by, I think, having that joint effort with other districts and doing that broad outreach in order to bring people in or join their effort or whatever has to be done in order to get that done. And I think we're going to miss a great opportunity here to hold these elected officials and future elected officials accountable. And I think that's what this will do.
Mr. Braverman?
I go along with what you're saying. However, just having these committee meetings and makes everybody feel really good. But I think you're right. We should do something in a legal way. And if you're going to do that, let's allocate X number of dollars, hire a team of lawyers that have worked in this atmosphere, and see where they would recommend we go. To have a bunch of citizens that have never done this thing before, just sitting around and feeling good about themselves, doesn't get us any place. I respect what everybody is doing, but sometimes you're just blowing in the wind.
And that's what this is.
So that's why I'm saying I would like to see you hire some attorneys that have this kind of experience. Put a dollar amount in there, because we never do that. Everybody wants to do something for nothing. If you want to make money, you spend money. That's an old adage.
I don't disagree with you, but all I'm asking for right now is for us to have the okay.
And I'm saying it's not enough.
No, I understand that, but I'm not. But what I'd like to do is see if we can get other districts to join us and defray the cost, so that we're not saying let's put out money right now in order to do that, because
you can do that
for
simultaneously.
Instance, Kingsway had put out a while back.
Freehold has a lawsuit going on
right,
now.
but Kingsway had put out an offer that other districts could join them pro bono or free of charge. And so, what I want to look at is what our options are, what legal teams they have, what their legal strategy is, what their lawsuit basis is, and so that we could explore all those avenues, do that outreach, and then come back to the board and say, now we have a concrete plan, and this is what we're going to join, or this is what we'd like to join, and this is where we'd like you to.
And if history tells us anything, it'll be November before you do that.
Anybody else from the board have any comments or questions? Ms. Arminio?
Yeah, I understand again, and I'm with Mr. Braverman on this, acknowledging that it's important, but we don't have an outline, like who's going to do that work? I mean,
our committee will
the
do
committee's going to do it. Okay, so do we have research people there? How much has it cost Freehold so far? What have they done? Do we have
They just filed. We just got the
I know,
news yesterday,
but one of the things that we could do is find out about how much it's cost them, who is doing the work for them. I mean, are they filing through the administration, which I think is, in our case, is very burdened right now because of the expansion and the amount of students. I think Freehold's actually losing students. I mean, so we're...
It's Freehold Township.
Freehold Township?
Borough.
Okay.
Freehold Borough, yeah.
Freehold Borough? No, Freehold Township is suing them.
Borough.
Oh, Borough?
Borough,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's the smaller one.
Yes, Freehold Borough is you know, they're getting probably most of their funding from the state, given what I understand about the real estate, you know, in Freehold. But my point is, who are we talking about? Who would we pay? Who would we be seeking to pay? And, you know, how much, I'm just concerned about how much we may be taking away from our budget for educational purposes. And like Mr. Braverman said, I mean, after 17 years of frustration, and again, I'm not opposed to change or progress or doing something different. What I am opposed to, like I think a lot of people have said when we were talking about looking at the land and spending money on whether we thought the land was any good, why should we throw the money into that if we're really not sure? So I know you're just asking for approval, but I don't want to subject the board to saying, well, yes, if we approve it now, we are approving a spending situation. We don't have a plan for spending, and we don't know who will spend it for. And just some citizen experience of mine, when we get governments involved, and sometimes government lawyers, and I apologize up front, but they prolong issues for a very long time and gets very, very costly.
So do politicians.
Well, yeah.
So listen, here's the challenge that I'm going to put out to the board. That we could either vote for this and be serious and take the fight to the next level, or we could just back off.
But I don't know what
But
we're
I'm not going to
voting
waste
for.
my time, and I'm not going to have the committee waste their time if we're not going to, in the end, support the committee and support a fight for that funding. Because what we're saying is, hey, we want everybody to feel good, but if you're going to really fight, we want to maybe back off on the fight because it might cost us some money, or it might get us bloody, or it might get us into something that we don't want to get into. All I'm asking for is, if we're going to commit and my committee's going to fight, I want us to fight hard and be able to have something at the end of that where we're going to have a victory, not just a...
Mr. Tyrrell, can I respond
Yes.
to that? Because
Yes.
you're just asking us to explore. You're not asking us to start a lawsuit.
In an official capacity where our district then could go, I can reach out to other districts and say we're exploring a lawsuit and not have who is exploring a lawsuit? And is the board behind it? Is the administration behind it? And I have to say, well, no, but I'm the Committee of Fair Funding, and I think it would be a good idea.
Yeah, because we cannot expend any money unless it goes through committee. So if we explore and we decide as a board to do that, we would go through the committee like we normally did. We, 4 or 5 years ago, we did explore going for a lawsuit, and we had somebody from the state come in, we had our attorneys come in, and at that time we felt that it was not the right time or the right thing to do, was going to cost us too much money. But I don't have an issue with exploring it again, not costing us any money, and meanwhile the committee, the ad hoc, could explore on this end, seeing if there's anybody that would like to join us. And we're working together.
Or maybe we can join them, and that's the point.
Mr. Ryback?
Thank you. I just want to follow up on what you said because it was right on. This is just for an exploration, maybe an explanation later on. But right now it's
A little
only an
bit of both.
exploration. We're not voting for a lawsuit.
No.
We have to find out, and I agree with Ms. Arminio and Mr. Braverman, but you need to know that my impression of the people on this ad hoc committee is that they're a bunch of workers. And these people will get out there and dig out this information, and you could tell Ken's passion in this, and we'll have answers for this board. I'm confident that we'll have answers for this board, and then we can decide what we want to do. Right now, he's asking us basically for direction for the committee and some support in that area. We don't know whether we want to approve a lawsuit now. We don't know if we can afford it. We don't know if we're going to anybody. I don't know, but I'm willing to find out. Sure, and I know the people on this committee, under Ken's leadership, will do this very rapidly. It won't take months. I'm sure we'll have an answer within a month. We'll be speaking with attorneys in other districts.
Mr. Russo?
I don't know, maybe I'm speaking a different language. I was saying that from the beginning. We needed a strategy, and the strategy would have included breaking us up into groups where we can go out and get all the information that we need for approach A, approach B, approach C. That's what we needed to do from the beginning. What it looks like we're doing now, and that's what worries me, is we're trying the letter writing campaign through Greenstein, and we think maybe it may not work. and now we're going to look for a lawsuit. And if we keep jumping around like that, it's going to make the committee look very bad. All these things should have been.
Hold on. It's not, we're not jumping around, and we're not, and it's not going to make the committee look bad. Like I said from the beginning, the letter, the petition, and going to Trenton was one part of a bigger picture of us doing a lot of things. So a lot of people jumped on Facebook, and some people came here and said it's a sham. It's to get Senator Greenstein reelected, and this and that and everything else. Those people are detractors. Those people don't want anything to succeed, because if it succeeds, then their agenda doesn't succeed. My agenda is to get us funding. My agenda is to get a tax break for our residents.
That's right.
And the only way to do that is to explore many different avenues at one time, because we don't have a lot of time.
That's what I'm saying, but we're
So
not
one
doing
of
that.
those avenues would be exploring a lawsuit. The other one is going to Trenton. So just because if the board votes to say yes, go ahead, we could start looking into it.
It does not mean
I'm
that
not going to
we
say,
are.
hey, May 2nd now, we don't have to do that, guys. We could just take a nap.
No,
That's what I'm
and
saying.
it does not mean we will file a lawsuit, because
And it doesn't mean
again,
that.
we would have to bring the information to the board would have to go through a committee, and the committee would decide whether to bring it to the full
But the
board.
feasibility of all of those options should have been done at the very beginning. That's when the structure should have been set up. That's what I'm saying. That was my idea of joining such a committee.
Okay,
Like
but
I said, I've done these things
Months into, I just got on the board in January. It's April. So we're already making noise and we're doing things. This is the next step. That's all. Listen, if the board says no, then I know where we're at. And like Mr. Braverman said, maybe on May 2nd we'll go. I'll wear a lei. We'll have cookies and cream and slap everybody on the back, and we'll go home and I'll be able to sleep and get rest. And I don't have to have any more meetings. And I don't have to fight for funding. And I don't have to spend weekends getting signatures. I don't have to do any of that stuff.
Mrs. Lang?
That's all I'm
So
saying.
basically, because I totally support what you're saying. So what you're asking is our permission to act as our representative and do the explorations, talk to people, and that's what you're asking for. Because without the permission of the board, you can't even say Monroe would like to talk to Kingsway about doing this. Am I
Freehold
correct?
or-
Great.
right.
I second your motion.
It's it's already been seconded.
Great.
It's a collaboration between the ad hoc committee, which is a Board of Education committee. So we are responsible for what the ad hoc is doing in a way, and there's no reason that the administration can't be doing some exploring on its own and working together with the ad hoc committee, which is what the intent from the very beginning. So.
And they have. So I just want to
Yes.
say that also, that our administrators have been reaching out. Dr. Kozak has been reaching out to other districts. But it's not, and he's at all of our committee meetings. So it's not that it's not being done. It's that I want to be able to do it in an official capacity where we're saying, can we go to that next level? If somebody says to us, are you interested in joining us in a lawsuit, that we could say, yes, we are interested, we're exploring it, and we could take it back to our board.
If there's nothing new for the conversation, maybe we can have a roll call. Okay?
So I'll
Oh,
just
Mr.
throw one-
Rutsky.
I'm just sitting here quietly.
We didn't know you were here.
I just have one question. So is what you're saying, Ken, and I love your passion, it's great, and it's infectious, is what you're saying, as it stands now, if you're presented with that question by Freehold, for instance, you don't feel you have the jurisdiction to say, yes, we are interested in talking?
Yes, I don't think we do. I don't think I do. And again, I don't want the committee to be tasked with looking up information and spending all their time, only to have the board later on say, well, we didn't even want to go in the direction of a lawsuit, so why'd you guys even go there? And that's really what I want to get ahead of. If the board is only happy with us doing this and getting petitions and sending letters, then that's great, and that's fine. But if they want to do more, if their heart is really in the fight, then I want to be able to take that fight to the next level and
So
explore
at
it.
this time, we will have a roll call on, if I haven't written down, I'm
Would you
sure
like me to
you
repeat the
do.
motion?
Yes.
Just have one question. Would you like some kind of dollar amount that you can fall back on, or?
Not at this time.
You don't need anything.
Not at this time.
This is just another program where we're gonna
Not, well, I would imagine eventually we're going to have to.
Whatever works for you.
Right, we don't know.
This is a feasibility
Spend
study.
money, but not, we don't need to spend money, I don't think, right now. We need to contact.
Madam Board President, motion on the floor, moved by Mr. Chiarella and seconded by Mrs. Lang, is for the board to explore a lawsuit against the state for fair funding for Monroe.
Yes.
We'll have a roll call. Mrs. Arminio.
I'm going to vote yes, but I would also like that the board does not disparage dissenting opinions and that, creates their perception of somebody else's motivation as to why they speak up. So, yes, I will support this, but I think that everybody who has different opinions should be respected and not disparaged in the process. Thank you.
Mr. Braverman.
Yes.
Mr. Chiarella.
Yes.
Mrs. DeMayo.
Yes.
Mrs. Lang.
Yes.
Mr. Ryback.
Yes.
Mr. Russo.
Yes, it's long overdue.
Mr. Rutsky.
Yes.
And Mrs. Koloponowicz.
Yes.
Madam Board President, motion passes unanimously.
I think we're still on committees. Okay. Is there any other, Ms. DeMayo?
We had a curriculum committee tonight. We reviewed several documents, a new Algebra 2 document that is better aligned with the Common Core. We also reviewed a functional math document and a functional language arts document. These are for Falcon Life students from grades 9 to 21 years, and it teaches these students life skills like giving change, taking orders, and how to navigate the world. We also reviewed the summer reading. There was a lot of summer reading lists. There was a lot of work put into this. There was 3 months put into this, a lot of collaboration between teachers, administrators, library personnel, and we reviewed, my notes are all over the place. And they solicited the opinion of students. So some of these books were recommended by students. This will, the summer reading list will be released May 11th to parents. We also approved a new club called the History Honor Society, and which the basis is, it's, you know, a history, basis is history. We also talked about the TAG program. We are moving the TAG program, not all at once, into cluster grades. And what this means is we are going to take TAG students, gifted and talented students, and we're going to incorporate them into classrooms. And that's like going to be 4 to 8 students in a class, and the rest of the class is going to be mixed ability levels. And currently we're still keeping the after-school program, but over the next couple of years we're going to start phasing out the after-school program once we fully integrate the cluster program. And that's it.
Thank you. Anyone else?
If I may.
Mr. Rutsky.
Finance Committee, we met last Monday, the 17th. I'm happy to say this is nice and short. We spent a lot of time, once again, going over the budget. Obviously, the presentation tonight went very well, so kudos there. That there was nothing for us to change or nothing for us to do. The one thing that we did discuss that is on tonight's agenda is the pupil transportation services proposal, because we have a vacancy at the Director of Transportation. So we're bringing in Pupil Transportation Services LLC to provide the transportation management services to the Board of Education during this vacancy period, starting now through, let me try it again. Has been found, this is from now till July 16th when the new personnel, the new Director of Transportation comes on board. Thank you, sorry. This current consulting transportation services will provide as needed transportation management services during that period. And we thought the recommendation was good and agreed to put it forth on tonight's budget, tonight's agenda. That concludes my finance notes.
Mr. Chiarella?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you for that. And that business is run by Ingrid Rattano, who was
Yes.
our former director of transportation. She's excellent. So our children, our buses, our transportation department will be in good hands.
Yes.
Excellent.
Anyone else for committee report? Oh. Does he have a committee report?
No, but he wasn't asked last time.
I will see.
Want to make sure he was asked.
I'm sorry.
Have a committee report?
Sure.
Mr. Braverman, would you like to give your report?
No.
Okay.
At least he was asked.
We met the other day, and all of these policies that you see in front of you on the agenda are all mandated policies. Student records, the opioid anecdote that going to be available in each school, special education, unsafe school choice option. The one I don't remember is the independent study program. Why was that abolished?
Yeah, that was abolished because it's included in another program, another policy.
Okay. The public participation in board meetings, this was passed, and I don't know if, Michelle, you want to give us a minority report, but feel free to do that. We went over it. I did ask where you were, because I knew you had feelings about this. So do your thing. Just one other thing. The board, I thought we were going to withdraw the wellness policy.
We are, and the reason why I left it on the agenda, on the notes, I put it's being sent back to committee. And the only reason I left it on the agenda is technically, if anybody from the public wanted to get up during a public session,
Yeah, okay.
they can only speak to items on the agenda. But yes, it's being sent back to the committee. We've received comments from several parents. I think there are some board members that have reservations about the wellness committee was a committee of parents and administrators, and they came up with the recommendations, but the board, I believe, would like it to go back to committee to be reviewed.
Okay. So Ms. Arminio can speak to that when Dr. Kozak does his report.
Oh, okay.
I'll speak to it during the vote.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so if there's no more to committee reports, we're going to go to the public forum. So anyone wishing to speak to anything on the agenda, please come to the microphone and state your name and address for the record, and we will adhere to our 3-minute time limit.
Thank you. My name is Heather Corona, and I live at 225 Old Forge Road. Good evening, Dr. Kozak, Dr. Alvik, board, administrators, parents, and guests. My name is Heather Corona. I'm a former teacher and a parent of 2 children in the Monroe Township School District. My 8-year-old daughter suffers from life-threatening food allergies, and today it exploded on Facebook about the district wellness policy, which I am a member of that committee. I'm here to tell you that I am for this new policy prohibiting treats sent in for whole classroom celebrations to be consumed by all of the children in the classroom. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to tell you that it is every child's right to be safe and healthy in school. We as parents can choose to pack our child's lunch and their snack appropriate for their children, appropriate for our children, whether they're dealing with obesity, food allergies, or other physician-directed food restrictions such as diabetes, ADHD, or seizures. We as parents should not be feeding other people's children during the school day. Birthday cupcakes can be enjoyed at home or at your child's birthday party. A child in school should not have to wonder if a snack being served at a party is safe. A teacher should not have that responsibility, nor a nurse. As a member of FAIR, the Food Allergy Research and Education Group, I know firsthand about improper labeling of products and the constant recalls of such foods and labels. Even store-bought snacks are not safe. 20 to 35% of children's daily calories are consumed during classroom celebrations, which can include 20 to 25 birthday celebrations, holiday parties, and other things that the teacher would like to have in her classroom. With the number of food allergy cases tripling, it continues to be a threat to these students. We are aware of safe snack boxes for students with food allergies, but these children are being excluded 30 or more times per year. Lives are in danger. Children each day should only be exposed to foods his or her parents have packed for them or agreed that they purchased through the cafeteria or a snack sale. This new policy will not affect before or after school activities and events that we as parents decide to send our children to and pay for. The nurses in our district have made it a position statement, and they are in support of this policy for our schools, for their parties, celebrations, and curricular programs. This alone should speak volumes. We as parents and adults have the power to change the mindset that food is not necessary in school celebrations. Our kids will adjust. We as adults need to grasp that a celebration is such because we're surrounded by our friends. Children will still get their birthday certificate or pencil, can still share their poster, or have a special guest come and read. Holiday celebrations will still take place. They'll still have games, crafts, and activities, and have a great time. Teachers are creative. If I may finish my last thought.
Yes, please.
They will teach the phases of the moon without Oreos, and they can do graphing without using Cheerios. Let's not back down to those that aren't research-based or experience-based, as we spent years developing this policy. The only thing changing is that food will not and should not be served freely during the day to keep our students, our children, healthy and safe. This is something we can all agree we want for our children. All children matter, and this policy is the best interest of all of our children who come to school to learn. So, Board, I urge you to vote yes when the time comes, because your child's birthday cupcake is not worth any child's life. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public?
I'm Prakash Parab, 33 Dana Drive. I'm going to speak about fair funding because the topic was the resolution passed, so I want to talk about that. Exploration of the lawsuit is one of the items. I support that with other districts. But I went to the assembly presentation where the Commissioner of Education was there, and she was grilled by all the members there. I saw that some assemblymen who get for their schools about $400 million still acting like they don't get money. And I saw that Commissioner of Education, it was such a disappointing, she could not answer much of the budget questions. I feel that these politicians are going to kick their cans and nothing is going to happen till November. So I agree with the ad hoc committee. In ad hoc committee, we have discussed and we are going to explore because the plans and strategy changes with what is happening. The plans will change to win. We should change and accommodate to win. And the Democrats and Republicans, assemblymen, senators are discussing the new formula or how we can fund the current formula. We have to make sure that our voice is there on those committees also, so that we can carve what we need. And I tell you, I personally is thinking that we have to be out of the box and think of the new formula ourselves as a citizens. In Canada, the good education they adopt, they don't need $12 billion to be spent. 30% of our state budget goes for school funding, which is $13 billion. $4.5 billion goes to pay the pensions, and $9.5 billion remaining goes to fund 30 districts. We have 580 districts. This is not fair, and I tell you, New Jersey has become a welfare state. We want to spend money and help the poor, but we have to see how they come out and help the society again. So I tell you, our strategy, I'm the member of ad hoc committee, I'll be working with the team. Our strategy is going to change with the time, and we are going to work very hard. And exploring the lawsuit is one of the strategy. I want to work with our president, Ken, and every one of you to make sure that we are successful. November is not fast, and we have to have also communication and take our community help. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public?
Good evening. My name is Lena Sani. My daughter is a kindergartner
Address,
at Oak Tree
please.
Road, 24 Orchard Grove, right in Monroe Township, obviously. It's nice to put a face to some of the email addresses that I had discovered earlier today. I am speaking to the non-food school celebration section of the policy. As I had kind of mentioned earlier, I believe that, I believe this is drafted with a pure sense of wanting to help with allergies and help things with childhood obesity. I really think that this provision as drafted is too restrictive, and it's taking the joy out of classroom celebrations, and not just classroom celebrations like birthdays and things like that, but additional things, the Thanksgiving feast, for instance, that teaches history, cookie decorating parties, joyful events that bring students together and in a community way. Food brings everyone together. And I think you're losing a lot of valuable teaching moments when it comes to healthy food, healthy living, teaching moderation about treats and snacks and things like that. As someone who has recently published a baby food cookbook, I've spent the last 5 years studying childhood nutrition from all around the world. That includes school lunches around the world, snacks around the world, preschools, daycares, schools that have farm-to-school, programs where we're teaching our children how to eat better and eat well and eat healthy. I think, as I mentioned in my notes to some of you, I think our energy should be directed at creating just a better nutrition program in general, and that includes things like the school menu and lunch menus and things like that. And I do think it's important. I think food is an important way to bring people together, and something like a class celebration, which I know my kindergartner has gotten a big kick out of. It's taught her a lot about eating together and wellness and, principles about when you can have treats and when you shouldn't have them, and moderation. And I think that just eliminating everything kind of takes the joy out of such an innocent learning experience. And while I appreciate that there are clearly safety and allergy issues, I think there's got to be a way to kind of find a happy medium, something that's drafted less restrictively than this particular provision. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Christine Lester. I live at 261 Cranberry Half Acre Road. I'm a parent of 3 children, all currently enrolled in the district. I have children with and without food allergies, and I also have a child with severe food restriction who was born without an esophagus. So I'm actually in favor of keeping the food policy as it is, obviously being mindful of children with allergies, and everything like that. As a room parent, I've been fully able to accommodate children with an assortment of allergies and dietary and food restrictions. Our biggest goal is inclusion and ensuring that every child is able to celebrate safely with their peers, and has been able to accomplish this even with a classroom of 30 when my child was on liquid feeds. I know that personally I've been able to send in a safe snack. I've also given teachers different, like a Hershey's Kiss that my child can have when he couldn't eat solid foods, when that would cause him to have emergency surgery or he could choke and die. I know this policy would also affect things in the classroom, like we have community gardens in our schools, and often the children will try new foods purely because they've planted it, they've grown it. I don't want to see us discourage that because we're implementing this food policy, and then what do we do with all this food that we grow? I have a child that volunteers with Cooking with Friends. She's concerned that this may affect that. Would the children be able to eat the stuff that they make? Would they be able to sell it? I think that there are bigger ramifications of this policy, most notably the fact that clubs and sports wouldn't be able to sell food to fundraise. So they can't sell a whole wheat pretzel, but my child could go and get a Snickers bar from a vending machine. And I don't think if we're looking at this policy for obesity and things of that nature, it's kind of, you have to kind of weigh it. If you're worried about allergies, trust that our staff is beyond resourceful. Teachers improvise every day. They will show you 50 ways to complete one math problem. Do you think that they can't find a substitution for a food? I can assure you that they can, because they've been beyond accommodating for my circumstances, and I've seen other children with circumstances. If your real concern is obesity, then implementing this policy makes the district look extremely hypocritical. You, in essence, would be taking away a class party where children are served items like a bagel with cream cheese, fruit salad, or yogurt. Our lunch program, the children are rushed through a lunch line, basically served appetizers if you've been in our schools. And as the last child goes through the line, the lunch ladies will yell snack. They take their full tray of food, they jump into the trash, and they go in the line and they purchase ice cream. They do funnel cakes now. It's chips, it's cookies. With a child with an allergy, that's usually where he's being associated with something that he shouldn't actually be having. I think can I proceed?
If it's very short.
I have like one more paragraph.
Okay.
I think that if we look at those type of activities where we have the vending machines and we have what we're pushing for the snacks, like this might actually be something bigger to look at, because I know second graders that will have an ice cream cone every day for lunch, and they don't eat their lunch. That's affecting them more than having apple slices when a teacher is doing an instructional thing about Johnny Appleseed. In closing, I would like to add that if we're really concerned about the obesity part of this provision, that we really need to look at other things. One of my suggestions is to not institute a homework policy. And I know that this seems like completely out there, but my child and my children do homework till bedtime. They want to ride their bikes. They want to play sports. The amount of homework that we give really impacts that. So if we got children out moving and, playing basketball, riding their bikes, they would burn off that cupcake that they're having 3 times a year. Again, room parents have been exceptionally wonderful at providing snacks and everything, keeping everyone safe. That's one of the first things we discuss. And generally, parents that have food allergies are more than willing to help you accommodate, do a classroom party, do a different activity. I've had my son, when he couldn't eat anything, slice a piece of pizza and slice the whole bottom off that he could participate. It was one of the only times he could actually hang out with his peers and have food. So that is my suggestion. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Jessica Izzo. I'm at 21 Oliver Street. I'm not really prepared to talk. This was just a spur of the moment thing, and I want to speak in support of everything that Heather said. However, my children, I only have one child in the school. I know she's a kindergartner. She doesn't have food allergies, but I feed her healthy foods. And the problem is, in school, she's being fed junk, garbage. For example, this week they had munchkins on Monday. Today they had cupcakes. Friday is Star Student Day, and there's at least 20 kids in her class. That's 5 months of Fridays, cupcakes, cookies, something. Maybe somebody will bring in something healthier, but with my experience, that's not the case. So there have been several strings of weeks where she's just been fed garbage several times a week, and I have no control over that. I'm not going to single her out and tell her to not accept it. She eats healthful foods. But of course, if you put a cupcake in front of her, she's 5, she's gonna take it, and there's nothing I can do about that. I don't know how to change this other than maybe put a cap on how many celebrations they could have. It's excessive, and it's affecting her negatively at home. It makes her want more sweet treats. Celebrations aren't special anymore. The celebration food is all the time. Cupcakes aren't special anymore. It's affecting our outside lives. I mean, on the weekends, you have birthday parties, and you just think, well, all week she was eating cupcakes and cookies and stuff, and now on the weekends it's more. It just lessens the joy that she has and we have in feeding her a special treat, because it's not special anymore.
I don't know how I can stress that anymore. It's excessive, and I don't have any experience in the district to know that this isn't going to happen next year. It's just getting worse. The sugar, for the most part, it's becoming part of our culture, and we need to nip it in the bud, because then she's going to be, and when my son gets into the school, it's going to be expected. And I think we're headed down a really slippery slope. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Corinne Masters, 9 Michaela Court. As a parent member on the School Wellness Committee, I was stunned along with 4 educators in that building on the committee when we had our first meeting last month and found out that our board would be voting to make our district a no-food district. Food is not only a necessity, but part of our culture. Imagine a cultural affair where there is no food for the children to learn about tasting and seeing it. This may be their only opportunity they have to see and learn about this. Policy 8505 will allow for a provision for children with IEPs to continue to use food as needed for motivation, rewards, health considerations, and the like. This is even more of a blinking light over that child. Now, instead of a class reward, only those with IEPs will receive it, segregating those children further. Every holiday in our country has some food association. The kindergarten Thanksgiving feast will not exist without food. This wonderful celebration that has the AM and the PM kindergartners come together for the first time will be just another half day that they pass each other in the hallway. The making gingerbread houses when a class studies Germany will be lost as well. I understand that the principal or food designee's permission making a gingerbread house may still be allowed, but telling the children that they can't eat it or take it home is disheartening. My kindergartner is currently studying the 5 senses. He brought home this culmination sheet on an activity he did in class on Monday, where he tasted a pretzel, a lemon, and a chocolate chip. He then had to draw and write a sentence about how each one tasted. This activity alone is covering art, science, and language arts in one lesson. However, with a no-food policy in place, this lesson will not be allowed. When my older children were in 1st grade, they did a mini unit on apples for Johnny Appleseed. Part of the lessons included tasting different types of apples, sweetness, tartness, bitterness. The class then had to vote on their favorite type. From there, they turned the results into a bar graph, again covering many subject areas across the 1st grade curriculum. This activity would no longer be allowed under such a policy. If you ask a 4th grader what their favorite lesson is at Applegarth, I can assure you that many will mention the New Jersey cake. It's amazing to walk around that day and see how all the class cakes look, similar and different. Children who have allergies always still participate in completing the cake and either eat a piece not containing the allergy food or they are offered something else. Both Oak Tree and Applegarth have amazing gardens that the children work so hard on. It will be sad when the food grows and they won't be allowed to eat the bounty they've become so vested in. No one wants to have children pick fruits and vegetables and tell them that they can't take them home or be eaten and that they must be thrown away. I attended the AVID meeting last night. The adults as well as the children in the program talk about having a family atmosphere. They even made a joke that the currency of AVID was pizza. They spoke about solving problems together while breaking bread. This would no longer be allowed under the policy changes. When I taught U.S. history, I divided into decades. Each decade I spent talking about music, industrial achievements, and inventions. Food was always included. So when I spoke about 1900 to 1910, the class learned about the history of the ice cream cone being invented while having one. This type of concrete learning is definitely needed. Anytime I teach an ELA lesson, I always do the how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. If students are allergic, we went with the sunflower butter and jelly. The students love it as they perform their group's instructions literally. Never do students get it correct the first time, but they eagerly edit their work to see if they can complete the task and snack on their accomplishment. I have 3 sentences left. I have former students that still remember some of these performances when completing these directions, and these children are in their 30s now. Teachers and room parents are always able to find ways to work around any allergy. Parties may be healthier by offering fruit salad or bagels. These celebrations and types of teaching lessons should be allowed. Please do not stifle our teachers' creativities because it only trickles down to our children. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Chrissy Skirby, 21 Preakness Drive. I'm very happy to hear that this policy is going back to the committee to take a look at. I'd just like to share my experience. Last year, after being redistricted to Brookside School, I was the room parent there, and I got to witness the policy there at the school. Before any party, a menu was submitted to the nurse, and the nurse went through. I had to take pictures of the food labels and submit those as well. The nurse went through. She knew what students could have what foods in there, and she approved or made changes to our menu. A lot of room parents do try to incorporate a lot of healthy foods into the school parties. I would really hope that this board takes a good look at that policy. I know there's a lot of caveats in there, and I think you need to really take a look at what you want to get rid of or eliminate. For instance, I know here at the high school there's cooking classes. The children cook the food and then they eat it, they consume it. They make pies, they make cookies, they make muffins. That's going to be a caveat that those children could eat that. I don't have a say what my son's making in class. What if I didn't want him to have a muffin? But because it's going to be a caveat of the policy, he'll be allowed to have it. However, my daughter in the elementary school won't be allowed to celebrate her birthday with a cupcake. I really think you need to take a good hard look at this policy and all the caveats. I understand that there will be certain treats that will be allowed and for certain things. And that's not right either. You need to, it's either, well, you're allowing food in for certain things or you're not. But don't have a policy that's so open-ended that you have all these different caveats and it's not going to be clear. Have a clear policy. I know Dr. Kozak with the District Education Council, we talked about this food policy round and round and round. One of the things that I had recommended with other parents on the District Education Council was not allowing home-baked goods. That is a severe, to me, that's a severe issue that goes on. You don't know what somebody's baking in their home. You don't know what they're mixing cake batter with that may be peanut-free. They could have made peanut butter cookies the night before with it. That's something that I would like to see. I would like to see, home-baked items taken out of the district. You can have, there are many, many, many peanut-free and different allergy-free options with things like cookies and cupcakes. So I'm happy that you did move this back to policy, and I hope the policy committee will really take a good hard look at that. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody left from the public who wants to speak? Okay, seeing no one, we will close the public forum, and we will skip the superintendent's report because it's getting too late.
Well, I do have personnel and board action.
I know. Only kidding.
Okay. All right. Be fast.
Fast.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. All right. Should I proceed then?
No, yes.
Please. Okay. Thank you, Madam President. Okay. I'll be quick and still give all the value that it needs. Before I announce the personnel, I would just like to say we have a number of retirements on there, and we normally recognize our retirees at the June meeting, the June board meeting. And I would just like to publicly say thank you at this point for the people who are listed on this agenda, as well as anybody who maybe has been listed on prior agendas, for their service to the children and the community in this district. There's varying levels of time that these people have put in, but I think I can speak that each and every one of these people have really worked hard to improve the lives of children. So thank you to those teachers and staff members. With that, I recommend to the board for under personnel, items A through J.
Second. Mr. Chiarella and Mr. Mayo, comments or questions for the superintendent? Seeing none, we'll go to the roll call.
Mrs. Arminio.
Yes.
Mr. Braverman.
Yes.
Mr. Chiarella.
Yes.
Mrs. DeMayo.
Yes.
Mrs. Lang.
Yes.
Mr. Ryback.
Yes.
Mr. Russo.
Yes.
Mr. Rutsky.
Yes.
And Mrs. Koloponowicz.
Yes.
Madam Board President, personnel items A through J has passed.
Thank you.
Board action? Okay. Thank you, Madam President. And for the board action, items A through O, with the note that the policy, I want to give it the correct title, the wellness policy, nutrient standards for meals and other foods, that is in letter N, is being, yes, I'm sorry, yes, thank you, Ms. Arminio, 8505, is being sent back to committee.
Is there a motion? Mr. Chiarella? Second. Second by Mr. Mayo. Any comments or questions by the board? Ms. Arminio?
On item J, do we have a total of the AVID implementation agreement? of what it costs per year, and I apologize if I haven't seen it as a line item in the budget. I mean, I know you enumerated all these, which is, I'm grateful for, but is this, let me ask the question, do you have a total?
I do not have the total, but if you add up all of those, that is the total.
Okay.
And it is the same cost as last year.
Okay.
It did not increase.
Okay, thank you. And then I'll go to M. I have a question. Well, I'll make my statement about public participation at board meetings. I think that first question I have on here is to make sure that we are retaining the 3 public portions on the agenda.
Yes.
That's not being changed.
That is not being changed.
Okay. My comment is on the rules. The public participation shall be governed by the following rules, especially on item 2, where it says that the statement made by a participant shall be limited to 4 minutes duration or less, but that 4 minutes includes any response by a representative of the boards to the participant's question. And it says the clock will run continuously during any such question and answer exchange. At the end of the 4 minutes, the participant's time shall be over. I have always objected to any curtailment of public involvement and public participation in this at meetings. Dissent and protest is the bedrock of our democracy. Sometimes we don't like what we hear from our citizens at the podium. However, I think it is our responsibility as elected officials who represent those very citizens to hear what they have to say. People are passionate even on the board, and sometimes the language is somewhat harsh sounding or caustic, and yet we listen. I think there should be no curtailment of the participation by the public, and they should, if you want to give them 3 minutes, fine. If you want to give them 4 minutes, but they should not be interrupted. I have witnessed as a citizen participant in Monroe for many years, in other council meetings and things like that, that sometimes the representatives or the officials take up all the time and then they ask you to leave. Every person has something to say. It's important, whether we agree with it or not. I would ask my colleagues, who have many of them on this board, who have used the podium as, before they were elected, to talk about transparency, to get their voices heard. I would ask them to protect the public who we honor, we should be honoring, and we should be supporting, and allow them to speak for 3 minutes. Otherwise, I would also like to ask what the goal of these changes to the policy actually is. Why do we feel the necessity to change it? Someone can answer that. I'd appreciate it.
Well, I'll answer that. We're giving people more time to speak, but there have been a lot of complaints about people who get up and ask a lot of questions, and every time they ask a question, we turn off the time and we answer the questions, and some people have gotten 10 to 15 minutes of conversation. And some people who just make a statement only get 3 minutes, then we stop the clock, the statement is over. I was going to hold this off to my board report, but recently Patty and I attended a New Jersey School Board's School Public Relations Forum workshop, where we received a nice book about the fundamentals of school board membership. And I believe everybody on the board should have this because it's really good. But they say in here, and this is just New Jersey school boards, that it is important for board members and the public to understand that no response is required during the public comment segments. This is not a time for individual board members or administrators to be put on the spot. This is the part of the meeting in which we the board, can hear your input. It is not meant to be a dialogue, nor would it be appropriate for us to necessarily respond to any questions. I've done research. I know other board members have done research in what happens in other districts. So far, we are the only district that I know of that does a Q&A. I do not want to stop the Q&A. I think it's important to continue having the Q&A. I think we just need to limit everybody who needs to speak. If there's a lot of questions from people in the public or the audience and they come up, they have the opportunity to submit questions, and I know that's what a lot of other districts do. They submit questions beforehand so that the answers are there. I know that we have a member of the public who does that, but it's to curtail. What we do here is, this is the board's working meeting, and we are here to listen to the input from our public, like we did this evening with the wellness policy, and that's what we're supposed to do. I even went to my HOA in Florida, and they do not allow Q&A during that when they have their public. So that's what we're trying to do, is make this fair to everybody, make it fair to our administrators so that nobody's put on the spot, and that's why changing the policy.
Okay, I'd like to respond to that. I appreciate that other people don't do it. That doesn't mean we can't rise to a better level. I mean, we have over adequacy in our education. We are proud that we go well beyond what is expected of us as a educational district. I can't see why we can't have a better, to me, it's service to the community. If it is an inconvenience, and I apologize, I know the administrators put in long days, but this is an opportunity for the community to ask questions and get answers. I also think that when I was sitting in the audience many years, when someone asked a question and I heard an answer, it might not have been something I would have thought to ask, but I was happy to have the information. It is all about public participation. We ask this community to support our budgets, to support the taxes, and yet we ask them to sit down after 3 minutes, or we don't let them finish their statements. I find it that we can go above and beyond what is, ordinary. And and a lot of municipalities and a lot of government officials don't want the public to participate. And to me, this is showing that that is exactly what we're trying to do. We're trying to limit public participation. I would ask my colleagues to remove that language and have the public be respected enough to have their questions answered. Thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Rutsky?
Can I rebut that?
You can
Because
respond to that.
I'm pretty sure what I just heard Kathy say was, we are going to continue to do and allow Q&A, and we're extending it from 3 to 4 minutes. We just don't want it to be extensive for everybody. I think within 4 minutes, questions can be asked, sometimes answers can be given, but in no way, shape, or form did I hear anybody say we're not allowing the public to ask questions and expect answers back. Kathy just said we're going to continue the practice, if I understood correctly, of answering whenever possible.
I do not want to stop the Q&A.
Right.
I think we've done that. I think
thought
it's
so.
important. I think it makes our district stand out from other districts. I just think that there needs to be a limit in how much every person can stand up and talk.
Agreed. And I'll actually say, as Jamesburg, so we follow that lead. And because of what we've seen you do here over the last few years, we similarly extend the Q&A as best we can until it gets to a point where we have to ask people respectfully, we'll get back to you. So I think, and again, I've been to other board meetings too, and I agree with you. A lot of board meetings, it's strictly state your question or concern. Thank you very much. Next. So I think we are going above ordinary, with all due respect. Absolutely, ordinary doesn't even come into the equation when it comes to this Board of Ed and what everybody does. So that's just my rebuttal.
Kathy?
Mrs. Lang?
I'd like to say, as a new board member and somebody who's spoken in front of the board often, to have 4 minutes to get my thoughts together, to give my opinion, and to express my concern is so much nicer than 3 minutes, because I know that I always tried to work within that 3-minute cycle and tell you, and I know that you were listening, and I know that people were hearing, and I think that's what the real part of what the public forum is for us to hear. And I know I heard the parents speaking tonight, both sides, about their concerns over the wellness policy. And even there are districts around this state that actually make you submit questions in writing prior to a board meeting. I think that's very restrictive. I think we have our State Board of Education who doesn't even allow you to make public comments in front of the whole board. You go to a separate meeting and there might be 2 people, one who is usually playing on his cell phone, who is listening to your comments. So I think that in respect of all of those, well, most of you people work and I don't, but out of the respect of the hours that we put in and the hours that are going on, there has to be a fairness. And I did find at times for myself, when there were people who stood at that microphone and with the clock stopping and starting and clock stopping and starting, getting 10 to 15 minutes of time, when I stuck to my 3 minutes, it was frustrating. So I thank you for this policy and I support it.
And if you look at today's agenda, we have 4 public forums on our agenda. So I don't think we're not giving the public the opportunity to speak.
I just think that when you take the public's time as, when you say the response, the 4 minutes shall include any response, if you remove that language, I would be happy with the 4 minutes for sure. I think when you take the public's time to respond, that is a distraction, one, from their concerns, and two, again, you know, what are they paying? 87% of our budget. I think we should hear them 100%.
Thank you. Anyone else have comments or questions?
Yeah, I would just like to say, I don't think it matters whether you have 4 minutes or 10 minutes or 20 minutes. The chairperson has the flexibility to pretty much wrap the gavel when they would like.
So at this time, we'll have a roll call. Mr. Gorski?
Madam Board President, for clarification, item N on board action items A through O is being tabled. We're not voting on N. It's going back to committee, correct?
No, we're voting on policy 0155. Policy 8505 is going back to the committee.
So 8505 is the only part of N that's tabled.
Yes.
Understood.
And and I think P167 is a revision, so it's really not it's not here for a first reading. It's not an introduction. We've always had a participation in board meetings policy.
I checked with the attorney today, and she said that policy also needed 2 readings.
She said that?
Yes, she did. And I probably have some.
I wish I had a law degree, because then you might listen to me.
Mrs. Arminio.
Yes on everything except on M, policy 165, and on N, policy 0155, which is board committees. I think that a president is part of the whole board and should not be unilaterally making decisions about committees and shrinking the committees in our district where we're growing very large. And if we put committees together, that eliminates board members from participating, and we're also, I think, giving any president unilateral decision-making and excluding a board member. So I object to 0155, board committees also.
So, Mrs. Arminio, am I understanding that that's a no on M165 and N0155?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Is it 167?
I'm sorry, 167 on M as in Mary, and on N as in Nancy, policy 0155.
So noted, thank you. Mr. Braverman.
Yes.
Mr. Chiarella.
Yes.
Mrs. DeMayo.
Yes.
Mrs. Lang.
Yes.
Mr. Ryback.
Yes, except for N on policy 0155, I'll vote no.
So noted. Mr. Russo.
Yes, and no on 0155 as well.
Thank you. Mr. Rutsky.
I'm going to abstain on all of them because albeit a few have asterisks, I believe the asterisks are incorrect on some and not on others, so I'm just going to abstain from the whole thing.
So noted. Mrs. Kolopanovich.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Yes. That concludes my report, Madam President. Thank you.
Okay, so we will go to the Business Administrator's report, Mr. Gorski.
Madam Board President and members of the Monroe Township Board of Education, it is recommended that board action items A through R be approved by consent roll call.
So moved.
Mr. Chiarella, second by Mr. Ryback. Comments or questions for Mr. Gorski? Seeing none, we'll have a roll call.
Mrs. Arminio.
Yes.
Mr. Braverman. Mr. Braverman, yes? Thank you, sir. Mr. Chiarella.
Yes.
Mrs. DeMayo.
Yes.
Mrs. Lang.
Yes, and recuse on N.
Oh, wait.
Who's on M?
I think I had a recuse on N.
And is in
Yes,
Nancy.
I
And is in Nancy.
travel. I
Yes,
recuse on
N.
N. Thank you, Ms. Lang.
Ms.
Let the
DeMayo.
minutes reflect Mrs. DeMayo recuses on N as well as Mrs. Lang. Mr. Ryback.
Yes.
Mr. Russo.
Yes.
Mr. Rutsky.
I'm going to vote on this one because I think these are correct. So this is a long list, so pay attention.
Yes, sir.
I abstain with the exception of items A1, A3, C, E, F, G, I, K, L, and M, where I vote yes.
L and
L and M,
M
as in Mary.
Mary. So noted. Thank you very much.
Excellent, thank you.
Mrs. Cole-Panowich.
Yes.
Madam Board President, motion passes. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Okay, so Board President's report, and I'm going to be quick. I wanted to speak about that policy, and I did. Then I will say it again, Patty Lang and I attended a New Jersey School Board School Public Relations Forum workshop where we received a lot of valuable information on communication, working with the media, getting our message out to the public. And I think this was very helpful and going to be very useful with both our fair funding fight and our upcoming referendum. For those of you in the public, the fair funding, the ad hoc committee now has a Facebook page, and I think it's Fair School Funding for Monroe Township, Fair School Funding for Monroe Township. So we will be doing a lot of input on that and getting any updates and funding information regarding that. And then second, I'd like to thank the PTAs for the paying for the cost of the buses to our trip last Monday. And for everybody who supported our petition drive. I think we were over about 8,000 signatures, which I think was phenomenal considering that we had an 8-day hiatus from school for spring break. And I think in that 2.5 weeks that we collected signatures, I'm very happy with the support that we got from the community. And everywhere that I went, people were aware of the funding fight and the petition, and I think that was really good. So I thank the public for that. So at this time, we'll go to other board business. Anybody from the board? Ms. DeMayo?
I have two things. The first one is, I was reading an article in the Asbury Park Press, and it seems that there is a special education school that we send a student to that has been audited, and it has been found that they have been overbilling districts. And I don't know if that affects us in any way, but I think we need to find out.
Okay.
So I'm making a motion that we just ask our administration to research this.
We don't have to do a motion, I'm sure.
We don't have to do a motion?
No, we don't, do we?
I can just research.
Yeah, he could-
We
Okay.
can, but we hereby attest that we will research this. We
Yeah.
have one student there.
Right.
We have been discussing this with board attorney. She is all over this, as we
Okay,
are
good.
too. And, safeguarding of students is paramount in all cases, as well as the financial interest of paying for their private education, out-of-district education. So, we're on top of it to the extent we can.
Okay.
It's regulated by the Department of Education, as you know.
Right.
But, we will do what we can.
Okay, and I have another thing.
Okay.
So, funding is a big issue that we've been talking about. And in February, the governor gives his budget address. And then the legislators have a listening session in February and March. And what this is the Assembly Budget Committee and the Senate Budget and Appropriations Committee Both have 2 sessions, usually one in North Jersey and one in South Jersey, where anybody can go and speak about anything. And usually most people or groups talk about funding issues. I signed to speak up to both committees. Unfortunately, because of the snowstorm and delayed school opening, I was unable to speak at the Assembly Budget Committee meeting, but I still submitted my testimony that all the legislators received. I did make the Senate Budget and Appropriations Committee meeting in Newark last month, and I want to read my testimony. I also called the mayor's office and asked him to submit his testimony to the Senate Budget and Appropriations Committee, because I felt the more, squeaky wheel. So I'm just going to read it for you. Thank you, Chairman Sarlo and the entire Senate Budget and Appropriations Committee for giving me the opportunity to speak today. My name is Jill DeMeo, and I'm a parent of 2 boys in the Monroe Township School District of Middlesex County and a member of the Monroe Board of Education. I'm here today as a parent, and my views don't represent that of the board, and I'm not authorized to speak on the board's behalf. I am here to talk about how flat funding of state aid to school districts have impacted my district. Monroe is a rural district, but we are growing quickly. Over the past 9 years, we have seen approximately 1,700 new students, and we are estimated to get another 1,500 new students in the next 5 years. Next year alone, we are estimated to get 427 new students. Despite all this growth, we've had flat state aid for the past 7 years. During this time, we've built a new elementary school and a new high school, but we still have over 1,000 unhoused students in addition to the growing student population. As a result of this growth, we need another new elementary school, a middle school, and an addition onto the high school. In next year's budget alone, we need 30 new staff, 4 buses, 2 vans, 3 additional drivers with benefits, and $1.8 million in facility upgrades such as a roof replacement. We are seeing class sizes of 30 or more kids, and at 2018-19, we will have to invest in trailers until we can build new schools. Trailers will cost between $1 and $2 million. This money is an expenditure and not an investment. It doesn't create equity. It will have to supplement programs and services that we may need, and it will use almost all of our state aid. I can't emphasize enough how little we get in state aid. Our current state aid for the 2016-17 school year is approximately $3 million for 5,700 students. That's about $500 per student. Here's a list of what our neighbors get. Old Bridge, with 7,000 students, gets $45 million, which accounts for approximately $5,800 per student. South Brunswick, with 7,700 students, gets $24 million. That's approximately $3,000 per student. East Brunswick, with 7,400 students, gets $18 million, which is about $2,400 per student. East Windsor, with 4,500 students, gets $18 million. That's about $3,900 per student. Cranberry, with 428 students, gets $476,000 in state aid. That's about $1,100 per student. We are not wealthier than any of these other districts. Furthermore, based on the last federal census, 1/3 of our population is older than 65 years of age and on fixed incomes. 87% of our school budget is funded through local property taxes. That's approximately $109 million funded by 30% of retirees. Because of the growth, they have been burdened with yearly tax increases to cover the cost of the expanding needs of the school district. The hold harmless provision of the School Funding Reform Act of 2008 is hurting districts like ours with growing student populations while benefiting those who have shrinking populations. I'm asking you to work towards fully funding the formula and get rid of the hold harmless provision and add a provision to increase funding for districts with growing student populations such as Monroe. My testimony was very well received. Chairman Sarlo had said, we've heard of Monroe, we keep hearing about Monroe. Of the 26 people speaking during the session, I was one of 6 who spoke about school funding, which was a lot. I've been going to the State House since 2010 when Monroe's budget was cut to $200,000. I've spoken at many of these meetings. The first meeting I ever spoke at was the Senate Budget and Appropriations Committee meeting. And when I talked about fully funding the formula, one of the senators got kind of nasty with me and told me we will never fund that formula. This same senator this year is now speaking a different tune and wanting more money for this senator's district. And I feel like I saw the tide turn, and I feel like the senators are really, and legislators are really listening to us, and they are taking notice. I mean, things have changed a lot. So that's it. Thanks.
Well, thank you for your continued support in Trenton of us. That's much appreciated. Any other board business? Mr. Ryback?
I just want to add to what Mr. Mayo said, and thank you for all the work you've been doing all these years. One of the things that our petition is saying, and that we've been saying to all the legislators, is that we want to see action before November. There's no plan. I think that's something that we sort of left out in all the things that we've been saying, that we have to underscore that we're telling them we want to see action before Election Day in November. So clearly they get the message that their jobs are on the line based on the results that we get.
I think we kind of saw that on Monday, that they know. Anyone else? Ms. Arminio?
Yes, I am grateful for all of the action taken on the state level, but I'd like to remind our citizens that on the local level, it's equally as important, because 100% of the planning in Monroe is done by our local officials, and 100% of all the residential construction is reviewed and approved by the Township Council and the Planning Board. And just on that note, it's also, as an aside, it's ironic that Mr. Sarlo, Senator Sarlo, is on that committee, because he is responsible solely for an act called the Sarlo Act that changed Monroe, that allowed a change in Monroe's development. For instance, one property had 29. It was originally zoned for 29 houses, and it ultimately, because of the Sarlo Act, was allowed to have 130 on the same parcel of land. There are 2 parcels in Monroe that the Sarlo Act contributed to an intense development, residential development, that has complicated our enrollment issues. But I'd like the public to know that on Thursday, the Planning Board will be reviewing Monroe 33 Developers LLC, and they're going to put 150 residential units in, or they're asking for in the application, 90 townhouses, 60 apartments, and that's all also a subdividable parcel, and that is residential on what was previously commercial zoned. The next one on this Thursday at the Planning Board is U.S. Homes, and they're going to create, and I'm reading this directly from the agenda, create 587 units, 457 detached units, and 130 duplex units. So what goes, our enrollment is 100% conditioned on what goes on at these local meetings. So I would encourage our citizens not only to look towards the state officials, but look towards our local officials for relief. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, so then we can go to the public forum again, another public forum. Anyone wishing to speak about anything, please come to the microphone and state your name and address for the record. We will adhere to our 3-minute policy.
Prakash Parab, 33 Dana Drive. If we are talking to the lawyer is advising you all on the policy, please tell the lawyer that when you revise the policy, I want to know what the revision is. Because today I read the public participation policy. What are the changes? I don't know. When I read this, I don't know what was the previous policy and what changes are made. So I object to this. I think this is the first hearing. In the second hearing, please, I would like you all to, I object, this is my objection to the lawyer, that any policy changes, I would like to see, we as a citizens like to see what are the changes. Because here when I read, I don't know what was the previous and what is the change. And I object to that completely. And I think the chair has any time, chair is responsible. I respect the chair. Anyone is going overtime, asking many questions, you can cut them short. But please, sometimes the discussions are more, the questions are more, so allow public to participate. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? Okay, seeing no one, we will close the public forum and go to closed session. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Township of Monroe hereby moves to go into closed session in accordance with the Sunshine Law, Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of 1975, NJSA 10:4-6 through 10:4-21, to discuss the following subjects: harassment, intimidation, and bullying, negotiations. Following closed session, action may be taken. The discussion conducted in closed session can be disclosed to the public at such time as the need for confidentiality no longer exists.
Second.
Is that a motion?
Motion.
Mr. Chiarella, Mr. Ryback,
I have a
all in
question.
favor?
I have a question. What are the negotiations that we will be discussing?
With the MTEA.
So these are MTEA. I would ask that would be stated and stipulated on the next resolutions, the specific negotiations. I mean, I was not aware of what, from myself, I wasn't even aware of what negotiations we'd be discussing. I think it's part of the Open Public Meetings Act that says it should be clear what we're discussing, not just by title. Thank you.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Then we will move into closed session.
Opposed.
You're opposed?
I won't attend. I have to recuse myself from
Okay. Yes. From negotiations.
If Michelle.
Okay, at this time, we will move back into public session, and seeing no one in the audience, we will go to the next scheduled Board of Education meeting, which is Wednesday, May 10th, 2017, 7:00 p.m. at the high school. We will be honoring our Teachers of the Year. Motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second. Rutsky, Mrs. Lang, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? And meeting is adjourned.